All right, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us for the 2004 the Big League Championship or the Big League preseason podcast. Excuse me. Joined here again with my podcast partner Chris of the Spokane Sasquatches.
How's it going, guys?
We're also going to be joined here tonight by our two-time champion Jason and the Atlanta Smashers.
Welcome, Jason.
Glad to be back, boys. How's it going?
Not too bad.
And then we also have one more special guest here tonight. We're going to be joined by our new GM here in Montreal. It's Montreal Dean.
Welcome, Dean.
Gentlemen, good to be here. Good to be here.
Very cool. So yeah, we're going to have a couple different perspectives here tonight as we kind of break down some of the teams and what we think is going to happen here in the 2004 season. And I'm pretty excited for this podcast because, the last few years we haven't been able to get this on the ground until after the season starts. None of us have any idea what the fuck's going to happen tonight, and that's going to make, I think, for some pretty good content as we make some pretty wild predictions. So, looking forward to hearing what everybody has to say. Again, Atlanta here with a two-time champion resume here in the league, and then Dean, who's just joining us and hasn't played a single game. So we should have some pretty diverse views on how this might go here tonight. So, anyways, we'll start off with a regular format that we've covered kind of the last few podcasts. We're going to start with the champion in Atlanta and the J division. And since we have the man himself here on the podcast tonight, I'm going to hand the mic over to him to let him to talk about his team a little bit and what he expects this year for his season.
Let me save. I screw up again. Get the gameplay going on the stream here. Let's take a look at Atlanta. Here you go, Jason.
All right, cool. Thank you guys again for having me. Feels like I was just on this not too long ago, but with the 14-day Sims, I think it goes by pretty quick. So for those out there that are rebuilding or looking to compete, I think it's a good league to be in because it's not going to take too long to have another chance soon. So let's get it going. Yeah, glad to be back here. Thrilled to win a second championship, especially in a row. That was crazy. Not that I was necessarily expecting it, but once you get back to the playoffs, anything can really happen from there.
Yeah, and you had a good playoff too.
I did, yeah. Unfortunately for Dean, earmuffs, your Montreal Machine, they had a great wild card series sweeping Somerville. And then we had a matchup together and ended up winning that one 4-2. And then I beat the Scrapples 4-1, and then the Picantes 4-0. So it was a
pretty dominant road.
Easy road there. So
yeah,
definitely didn't.
Hey, Jason, just on the lowdown, why duck breast went down so bad, right? That wasn't me. That I'm not saying, but I'm just saying.
It does smell a little fishy.
Did you say duck breast took a big dev hit too? I don't see it on the OSA scouting report yet. So
yeah, he did. It's interesting because a lot of his ratings individually did not go down, but his stamina is really the big one that crashed. I think it went from like a 60 to a 35. So
okay,
ouch.
That definitely hurts. And then his overall potential went from 80 to 50, which is not that big of a deal because it doesn't necessarily, mean a whole lot.
Yeah.
But I am pretty concerned about that stamina. I mean, he had a good spring training, but he was only going about 3 innings tops each. So I'm going to throw him out there in rotation and see what happens because I'm paying him for it.
Yeah, you never know. He might bounce back, and he's going to be the highest paid player, I think, on your team, right, in the future years. So
I think so,
hopefully you can get something out of him.
30,
I know.
30
If not, he
million.
might be the highest priced closer in the league here.
Yeah, I see a arbitration year too for $45 million if you get that far. So I'm sure you're going to offer him that $45 million at arbitration.
That's an easy pickup for sure.
Chump change. That's chump change in this league. Come on.
So yeah, who else on your team? Who carried you last year? Who's continuing on this year to be the leaders on the team for the 2004 Smashers?
Yeah, so my top 2 hitters were third baseman Diego Orta and second baseman Jordan Brown. Unfortunately, on the screen here, this is my crap spring training lineup that I just threw out there, so they're not shown on there yet. But those two were my first two picks in the inaugural draft.
Diego Arta?
And
There he
yes,
is.
there you go.
Thank you.
So that was my first pick in the inaugural draft. Was huge for me the year before when I won the first championship. So I basically just ran it back with those two. I mean, this guy's not only a great hitter, but he was also playing great defense.
Yeah.
See, his WAR jumped up from 7.8 to 9.1, which is awesome.
What was the other guy's name again?
I think he was definitely on my MVP ballot too at somewhere. Maybe not the top, but
Jordan Brown was the other guy.
Jordan Brown, there you go.
Yeah.
Yeah, look at that guy.
Those
Avoid Kane,
OBPs. Damn, 371 and 368. That's
look at that. He's getting better year after year too. That's pretty impressive. Yeah.
Yeah, so those are my top two guys. It's going to be a little bit different this year, too. So Jordan Brown, he hasn't played great at second, so I'm moving him over to first. You can see he's got a 70 potential rating at first.
Yep.
He's 6'2", so I think that transition will work for him. But I've got a guy kind of coming in to backfill second base, and then I had Dan Brown, the first baseman that I acquired in that big trade a couple years ago, leave for free agency. So doing some shuffling around the lineup in the fielding there.
Yeah, makes sense. And it looks like you have Orta and Brown signed at least through 2006. You got Duckbreast signed through 2006. So looks like they are looking to be your core here for the next few years, and hopefully they can keep carrying you to the success you've had. Well, hopefully not for the rest of the league, right? But hopefully if you're an Atlanta fan, that they're going to keep carrying you to success. Excuse me.
Yeah, right. All the Atlanta crazies out there appreciate your support. Jordan Brown, he was a free agent after the year, so I had to bring him back. But I did.
Let's talk about Jason Holmes a little bit.
Hold on a second, guys. Can anybody see the screen on Twitch?
Yeah, I can. Oh, on Twitch. Yeah, I don't know.
Somebody just got a heads up that we got a blank screen, so I just want to make sure it's rolling correctly.
No, I see like a Ted Lasso something going on. It looks like you're sharing your computer screen maybe instead of.
Interesting. That's not good.
Yeah.
It reminds me of the anime I was seeing last year.
You get it fixed up.
Okay. Hold on.
I wasn't watching anime, so I don't know what you're talking about. That's some crazy shit.
I don't have any proof there.
Hold on, boys.
But yeah, when we get back, let's talk about some Jason Holmes. Jason Holmes. This guy looks like a future stud, possibly.
Hope so.
BRB, I like that. Technical difficulties. So it looks like we got the right screen going. Yeah. Sounds good.
Hey, I got it figured out. Thank you. Technical difficulties.
There we go. Yeah, so let's take a look at Jason Holmes there, Chris. This guy looks like a pretty good young pitcher for Atlanta coming up.
Okay, Jason Holmes, starting pitcher. Jason Holmes.
Yeah, so this guy's interesting too. He was another international free agent to enter the market over the offseason, just like Duckbreast the year before. So I guess I'm doubling down in that market, which hopefully that'll work out for me. But I actually didn't notice this guy until I think the second or third offseason free agency sim. And then I just kind of scoured the starting pitcher market, and I noticed that this guy was there, and I was surprised he was still there. I don't know if people were offering him contracts or what, but I just decided to throw a 4-year deal out there to him. that escalated each of the 4 years just to see if it was something he was interested in because I needed some pitching and got fortunate enough for him to be interested in it and took it.
Yeah. So I mean, getting a lefty, I think a starter with that kind of repertoire with 4 strong pitches is going to make you an even more formidable foe this year. Because you did this all last year without Duck Breast, right? Because of the injury, you're going to add this guy to the rotation. So that's some scary shit right there.
Yeah, for sure. It's interesting because in the other league I play in, the international free agents that enter the market have never really turned out to be that good. So you'd think I would learn from that and kind of stay away from these guys. They just look so shiny when they come through. It's like, how can I pass that up? So
Yeah.
I'm gonna hope that it turns out different here, but
I felt the same way. I've been broke, but I've been broke these last few years. But I've always thought, like, man, I want to take a shot at these guys, but I have no fucking money. So,
yeah,
it's the way it is. You have these big contracts on your team.
I have a hard time spending money on my team as well. But if I save it, but I guess I got to realize it's fictional.
So what's the prediction? What's the prediction this year, Jason? You running it back or?
Well, I'm certainly going to try my best. I mean, I don't think there's any reason why I can't make the playoffs again with bringing back a lot of the players. I did lose, like I said, Dan Brown, first baseman, and also one of my important outfielders, Eric Wilson. But I'm backfilling them with some young guys, and like we just talked about, Jason Holmes, I'm adding him back, and Duck Breast is back. So hopefully the pitching will be a little bit better. So I don't see any reason why I can't be back in the playoffs competing again for another ring.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't argue with that at all.
Yeah.
Awesome.
I think you're the favorite.
The house to make sure it happens.
I feel like you might be the favorite in the division. And we're going to cover every team, obviously, and we'll make our prediction at the end. But I'll say Las Vegas is coming. Las Vegas is coming because they got a crazy farm system. But right now I think you're in a pretty clear window to keep winning, or at least keep getting playoff shots.
Yeah, I feel good about it, but I certainly haven't taken the time to dive into other teams. So I'm really curious to see what other teams have been doing this off season and how their prospects are progressing, because certainly they could be coming for me.
Yep, totally.
Las Vegas has a great farm system, and they wouldn't let me pilfer it.
Yeah. No, I mean he's been pretty calculated. I'll be honest. A lot of these new GMs we brought in, Huron and Montreal and Las Vegas have been really savvy with their trades. Like I've seen him pull in like a couple of really high picks, and then he's turned around and offered me like a 12th rounder for a dude that like thought was worth a little more. So I think he's trying to get good value from people, and then not give up too much value for what he's giving away, and that's what you got to do as GM. So.
Yeah, for sure.
We'll get to Las Vegas though. Sorry, I got off on a tangent.
We digress. Yeah, quick direction, Paul.
Yep. But yeah, Dean. Yeah, what do you think of Atlanta here? You think they're lined up for future success still?
Yeah, I had a little bit of a pause there in the stream. I had to stop and reset, so I missed a lot of that one. But just looking over it, I mean, yeah, you got the good pitching. That lineup looks ridiculous, especially with the 2 big OBP guys at the top to drive guys in. And especially in that ballpark, I think OBP is probably more important than going for average, just because it's kind of a pitcher-friendly park, which is pretty cool. I mean, yeah, you can't knock them until you knock them, so 100%. Yeah.
Target's on Jason's back, 100%.
All I'm going to point out is the 3 TBL playoff appearances and 2 big league championships, and I think we've 3rd season in, so.
What are you trying to say? I should be 3 for 3?
Yeah, you're saying you're going to be a tough one to crack for a while.
I want Duck Breast in the 9th in Game 7, though.
Nice. I wanted to see if Duck Breast can do anything this year. It'll be nice to see him pitch.
He hasn't thrown a pitch yet. I mean, in a meaningful game, so.
Don't let him. He'll get hurt more.
Just keep Steve's Grim Reaper away from my team, please. That's all you got to
do. Oh no! Don't bring this up.
Hey, I had my own guy out a year. I can't complain.
I did too. I lost my. Yeah, I don't. We'll talk about that when we get there.
Yeah. So Yeah, so on to the next team, I think, would be Fort Collins. Kyle and Fort Collins. That's kind of been the kind of the tandem here in
Yeah.
the Jade Conference, the Jade Division, excuse me, since we started here. Kyle's been to 3 straight playoffs, 2001, 2002, 2003, so I'm sure he has high expectations like any other year. And yeah. What do you guys think of Kyle and the Roosters?
Let's take a look at his pitching. Is this 2003? Last year's? Yes, it is.
I mean, obviously his stud's been Bill Bryce, right? Like, second baseman, Mr. T. He's only 27 years old. He's locked up on a decent contract, $25 million a year, but he's locked up.
Really good fielder.
Doesn't get injured for the most part.
Yeah, just had next.
Pretty high BABIP last year. Notice that the 353. I guess that makes sense. Well, for a ground ball pull hitter, he's not that fast. Maybe some regression there, but he's been doing it for the last 3 years, so
Yeah.
yeah, it's interesting.
He's been a 300 hitter so far.
Right, yeah. And for a ground ball pull guy, especially. I don't know if they've changed that for 24. Like, how do the shifts work in 24? Do they try to kind of take into the new rules into effect for banning the shift?
I'll
sure.
be honest, I'm not sure. Yeah, I'm not sure.
Yeah.
I've messed with the settings with anything in out of the park on that, so it's probably what it's been prior to this year, I would say.
Yes, yeah, because they're kind of behind with keeping up with it. They got to do perfect team instead, so
Yeah, right. Yeah. No, yeah. I mean, he's young, so I think he's going to be productive for at least a couple more years before. I mean, you can kind of expect the same, maybe not the same kind of pace. That's pretty good, and we've got a lot of really young talent being infused into the league now, right? Because we've been through a few years of the draft. Some of these guys have really accelerated quickly. So there's going to be more competition to be good. So, yeah, he's definitely the piece I think that carries the team. Kyle Lacey, the third baseman's been pretty good.
Yeah, that's a nice profile. I like that a lot.
Yeah. Fly ball pull too. Nice.
Solid player.
Nice.
He actually had a really good defensive year last year after being not really good. Excuse me. He's like a average defensive year last year after being like pretty below average the first 2 years. So
that's what I was looking for. Yeah, pretty below average for fielding, but if he's hitting, doesn't really matter.
I'd say he's got a lot of guys locked up for a long time on kind of cheap contracts. Like David White's locked up for like 5 years, $5 million a year, and he's like a pretty, I would say like not a great pitcher, but an above average pitcher. He's got Pete Kellogg at catcher locked up for quite a few years, and I like a guy with a lot of catcher ability. So he's got like small pieces in place that he thinks he's going to be like adding things around. So it's definitely like a different way to build a team than I build it, but I kind of like it. Like he takes a more of a almost a small ball approach with some of his contracts. I feel like a lot of people just go year to year with their contracts, but I don't know.
Can we see the chemistry? I'm always curious about that with teams and how they're doing that. I don't know if we can see it from. Oh, we can. Yeah, so he's got some leaders in there too. Just one kind of jerk. It looks like in Fleen. I think that's really important when you're trying to add little pieces together.
I don't think outspoken is that bad though. Honestly.
Yeah, that's true.
It's manageable by itself.
Yeah. That's a good point. Yeah.
If you have 5 outspoken guys, it's a different issue.
Yeah.
No, yeah, I agree with you. I think like team chemistry is pretty important. I know some people don't take as much account of it, but
they're happy here at Fort Collins. So
I probably have a really bad team chemistry right now. I think so.
Mine's not been great the last couple years either, but
that's the other side of the coin. But when you destroy everyone, it doesn't matter. That's the weird
that's
part.
true. Yeah, the other thing I'm seeing here with Fort Collins, I don't think he was brought to spring training, but one of his top prospects is a starting pitcher, Jimmy Adamczyk. And the guy looks to be very close to the majors, and he's probably going to be a problem. So it's probably going to be a midseason call-up for Fort Collins, which will probably be a huge boost to his team. But this guy looks to be very nice.
Yeah, does look. I like a pitcher with very good control and movement. I don't really care about stuff that much, but if they can keep that movement and control up, I really like them as a pitcher.
This is one of those. This is one of those things too where I don't get ratings very much because like he's filled in a lot of his pitches, right, and his stuff, and I mean he's missing a little bit, but he's a 35 to 75. Like feels like he's like a 50 to 75.
Yeah,
Adaptable
for sure.
too, so he could blow up this year. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wonder if that's like a performance-based thing where it's like, he could be a 50 or higher, but he hasn't done it yet, so the game's not going to give him credit. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, he's only pitched an A-ball, right?
I think
Like,
also too, like I think the scouts have to see it. Yeah, so a certain amount of games has to go by for a scout to see it in order for it to count.
yeah, he's top prospect, so I think
Yeah.
he.
21st prospect, number 21.
It's a
I think
nice
for
player.
looking at the minor league system rankings, Fort Collins is number 8, so they definitely have some good pieces that are going to be replenishing them. We didn't talk about Atlanta's system; they're number 3, which it's not even. Let's not even go there, right?
Is that good?
You just kept
So,
that secret
yeah.
from us. What? Wow.
Right.
Atlanta looks like a mini dynasty here to start the TBL. We're gonna see if anybody can step up in the Jade to compete soon, right?
Although to be fair, Jason Holmes, who we talked about, is listed as a prospect. He's my number 2 one, and he's still in the majors, so I think that's kind of inflating it some.
Yeah. All right. What else? What else do we notice about this team? What are we thinking? Anything else?
It's a good team. I think they have a chance to compete, like they
Yep.
always do. I think they're a scrappy team. So, like you said, Paul, like they're it's really well put together. So they're gonna get wins. They're not gonna tank out. Just gotta watch out for those spooky injuries.
I think the trap though is always like, yeah, Fort Collins has been there 3 straight years, so you want to be like, yeah, they're a great team, but like, are they still a great team? They probably are. They've got some good pieces still, but like, the rest of the division might be sneaking up. Some prospects are being called up in different towns.
I think.
I feel like,
I think the other part too is we're going over the best teams of last year. So
we're starting top to bottom, right?
Yeah,
so, but I don't know. I mean, I think it's crazy to think that things are going to finish the same way year in and year out, year in and year out. But I mean, that's kind of the way it's been so far in this division. But I just I don't know. I feel like at some point the dam's going to break.
We'll find out this year.
Yeah, I'm gonna predict Atlanta to finish 4th.
Hey. You'll probably be right. I'll be sorry.
Do we want to take a look at his prospects, or that pretty much it?
Yeah. Let's look at one more guy, actually, if you don't mind. Look at Dennis Cunningham. I don't know if we pulled him up, but he's only this is another reason why I think ratings, we should just turn him off. He's a 50-50. Dude's got 4 sexy pitches. Put up a 5.8 RWAR last year. Led the league in ERA with a 2.16 ERA. Just like, if you can find guys like this to fill out your team, right, around the 70s and the 80s, the guys that are supposed to be really good, then that's a winning formula.
Oh, yeah.
And this guy is 24 with a year under his belt. So.
Another interesting thing, just clicking through his team, he seems to have his better pitchers are of the ground ball type. All of his defensive players look average at worst or really, really good.
Yeah.
And his park is it's a hitter's park. It's an average park. So he's prepared for that against other teams with how he set that up. And so even if some of the batting ratings from some of the guys isn't that great, I think he can account for that. That's kind of a recipe for success too.
Yeah, he's trying to keep that ball on the ground, right, and trying to get those fielders to make those extraordinary plays to get those extra outs throughout the season.
Yeah, right, yeah. That's a good, and he's got the good chemistry too. That's
Yep.
That's how I always tried to do it with Pittsburgh last year when I tried to win the title. So that's good. That's good.
Yeah, for sure. He's a good GM. So, I mean, I think
Yeah.
the J division hasn't been the best division of the two. I mean, it's got the two-time champions. So it's hard to say that, but I feel like Sapphire's been more competitive. Like a lot of really good teams in that one. But the J division has some really good GMs, and I think it's going to be really competitive. As we continue on here. So, we're probably spending a lot of time on Fort Collins. So let's move on to the next team.
Yeah, let's check it out. Who finished third last year?
The Noah and the New Orleans Mudcats. So I feel like New Orleans, again, I feel like they're one of the trickiest teams in our league. He's gone on a bunch of really crazy streaks. He had second place at one point last year. I think he came up on Fort Collins, who slumped, and then he went super hot. And maybe I'm misremembering. Maybe those 2 seasons ago. But he's been in the conversation the last few. If you hit the meet the team button, we can kind of see his last few seasons. Yeah, so he digressed from his playoff appearance when he had 90 wins in 2002. Still had a winning record last year, and I feel like he slumped early maybe, or slumped at one point mid-season, and then kind of came on strong at the end. But really wasn't in the conversation for at the very end. Excuse me. So
Can give him a little scold here. He's missing some team staff here, so.
yeah, he's gonna have to fill that position. I think that's his assistant GM.
Who needs one?
Most important job. In
Yes, absolutely. But you are required to put some of your budget towards it. So you'll have to add somebody at some point. Yeah. I'll enforce it. I'll put a guy there for you.
Coming down with an iron fist, huh?
Well, I think it's just fair, right? If everybody else is spending money, you got to find a guy for $100K. Like, don't be a cheap fuck. Like, just put somebody there. So, but yeah, Steve Miller is the stud of the Mudcats, I think, right?
Yeah, Steve Miller, number 1.
He's been crazy. He hits crazy home runs, and he's a complete asshole while doing it. Like, what more could you want?
Well, he's he's a leader of a band, so what do you expect out of him?
He's a LeBron James of first baseman. Look at this guy.
Scroll down and look at his stats, though. I think he was the MVP in 2002. Yeah, 10.7 more.
Yeah, MVP 2002. 66 home runs. Wow, that was dope. That was a great season.
Yeah. I feel like with these ratings, I would definitely take the over on homers and RBIs this coming year. Easily.
Yeah, the
Seems
43
for that
Yeah.
profile. I mean, I know it's pretty similar to the 3 years, but that outlier season doesn't seem too much like an outlier when you look at those ratings.
No,
I agree. I think it's a little of an outlier. Hopefully, I think it's more around like 50 to 55 home runs.
Yeah.
I'm pretty surprised we had a guy hit 66.
It's pretty awesome.
It is kind of cool.
probably faced a lot of righties. Is my opinion.
Was that even the record? Did someone hit more than 66 here? Does anybody remember that?
We'll have to take a look. We'll find
Yeah,
out.
we'll have to. What? I can look. Let's see who else is on the Mudcats that might make an impact this year. Steve Miller and his disruptive attitude can't lead this team to victory, I don't think.
He's got a pretty loaded outfield, too, it looks like.
Who else
And
has
the
he got?
first overall pick in 2002, BJ Swart, who looks pretty solid.
Oh yes, I do remember that guy.
The name does sound familiar.
Oh, wrong
Came up last year for a cup of coffee, and now he's ready to go, looks like.
Yeah, and can play center too. Like I get a little confused with when they do the overall position ratings. Like I think a guy with 65 range in center is just great. You know, I don't really care too much about arm at all in center. And not really air either. Like, but they're giving him a 50 overall. Like I think he's better than that. Or I'm looking at my screen. 55 overall on your screen. Yeah.
I was gonna say OSA's got him at 40 of 80 right now in terms of his rating. Actually, I don't think this guy's ready personally. I mean, he put up decent numbers when he got called up for 37 games, but he's got so much development. I'd probably try to slow the roll and keep him down a little more, but I guess everybody's kind of different on how fast they progress someone.
Kind of a pretty big BABIP too, in between AAA and maybe not too bad in the bigs, but
Well,
yeah,
I want to.
maybe a little lucky. I don't know.
I should warn you guys, and this is a good time to bring this up, but Denver Joe, he's a pretty experienced guy with some of the behind the scenes things. He's pointed out that some of our minor league calculations are a little off. So if you see some really outrageous offensive numbers in the minor leagues, kind of just take that with a grain of salt. That's probably going to even out over the next few seasons here because I'm going to fix these settings up a little bit. But I think guys are kind of overperforming offensively in the minor leagues, and pitchers are underperforming, and that's going to come more towards the center in the next few seasons.
Kind of like from the inaugural draft, you think? Like all the good guys got up to the bigs pretty fast, kind of thing.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely some imbalance there too, but there's some like just settings that you can auto calc that can kind of make sure things are running smoothly in terms of the generator, and I think I need to tinker with that a little bit. So. If you look at like some of our minor leagues, like the rookie ball leagues and stuff like that, like I think like the league average is over 300 or something, well above 300 or something like that. So everybody just hits really well, and the pitchers have an ERA rate of like 7. So I appreciate Joe pointing that out, and hopefully we'll get that fixed here as we progress. So yeah, for sure. So anybody who listens to this podcast gets free tidbits, right? Anybody who doesn't sucks to be you. But,
sorry, bros.
Yeah, exactly. So, anybody else? Anybody wants to point out here? I mean, this guy again. Noah had a winning team back-to-back years here, so I feel like he's still got a good chance. Joe McClurkin, his leadoff guy is pretty sexy. I think he's put up back-to-back 4 WAR seasons.
Yeah, I was just looking at him too. He's very nice. I mean, this is a competitive team we're looking at, so he certainly will be vying for the division, I think.
He's gone all in on disruptive Steve Miller. I mean, $28 million a year. I would too with bars, I suppose, but like $28 million a year for the next 4 years. He's got an opt-out after 2005, player option 2007, but that's what this team's built around. He doesn't have any other really long contracts locked up. He does have Javon Cooper, his 26-year-old probably ace, I would say, giving those numbers. Wrapped up for $16 million a year over the next 3 years. That's pretty good. But yeah, so his franchise could really go in any direction at this point, right? Like I don't know what's going to happen in New Orleans this year, and I don't know what's going to happen in New Orleans in the next few years. He could build a winner. He could be moving into rebuild mode. Not sure.
Yeah, he could. It's. I agree with that, Paul.
He doesn't have much of a system right now, so I mean, at some point he's probably going to have to start thinking about building some assets. I think he's like ranked 21st in the minor league system rankings. So yeah, we'll see what Noah decides to do.
It's like some really good gap hitters, contact hitters at the top of that lineup in a park that suppresses power but rewards doubles, triples, and average. And then the bottom half, more defensive minded, which I think makes sense if you don't have the bats, pivot and go towards the defense. Yeah, that'll be interesting to watch. Yeah.
I think what's really fascinating to me about how good Steve Miller is too is if you look at, you're right, New Orleans Park, like it's not a home run park per se, right? At all.
No,
and that guy hit 66 home runs.
Yeah, I was thinking that earlier. That's crazy in that park.
I mean, that is crazy. So
let's build bonds in San Fran. It's nuts.
What's his team chemistry look like? They're content. But
how?
Yeah, there's a lot of
yeah, wow, there's a lot of dicks on that team.
Oh my.
Bobby Hart must be a hell of a fucking leader, guys. Write that name down. If he ever becomes a free agent.
This guy
is a man wants a chip. I don't know.
That guy.
Yeah. What is he? Oh, we got
24
years. Dang.
He's a really
I'm shortlisting him right the fuck now.
This guy is gonna be an 80 over 80.
Yeah.
If he can get this team going. Yeah.
Damn.
Isn't it true if you have like two outgoing players, they just cancel each other out as null, right? So you might as well just have 2 or 4 or 6 of them.
That's funny. Shit.
Well, I'm gonna test that tonight. Oh my god.
Yeah, go for it. Let me know how it goes.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. Let's move on to the next one here.
Yeah, let's move.
Fourth place in the J division last year was Tampa Bay. And Tampa Bay has kind of been, I would say, besides our friend Baltimore Steve, maybe the tough luck team of the TBL so far. They've just missed the playoffs several times.
Yeah, just barely.
Want to hit meet the team so we can just kind of see that history.
Absolutely.
So yeah, winning record 3 straight seasons, no playoff appearances. Just kind of that fringe team that just hasn't been able to get there. Notably, I've cursed Dick in Tampa Bay the first few seasons by actually picking them on the podcast to do really, really well, and then things went badly. Didn't do it last year, but it didn't work out for him still. So
Yeah,
it wasn't me. It wasn't me. Is what I'm trying to say, I guess.
Yeah, I think it was you.
Fit,
I think it was you, Paul. You definitely did it. You were like bad juju. I don't know. That's bad. You did root for him though. I remember you saying you felt really bad. So looks like he needs to fill some coaching, but
yeah, I like Dick. He asked me a lot of questions and like clarifying questions, and I know he's like engaged in the league, so I definitely root for him to have some success, as I do for any GM who's truly into this process in this game. So, all right, Jason, Dean, what do you guys think of the Tampa Bay Cannons here?
I think let's take a look at some of his players. I think this guy's a slugger for him.
Yeah, Alberto's had some good back-to-back seasons. Definitely been really good. 3-time All-Star already. 48 doubles to lead the league last year. So he's actually really strong in several positions. He's got a good catcher.
Yeah, look at that guy. He's got a good catcher arm, good catcher ability. Yeah. Who cares about his offensive bars right there?
I like his shortstop too. So. And then, of course, his ace, Chris Carmody, is one of the best. He had kind of a down year last year. I mean, not really. I mean, he's still great numbers, but just a dip from his first 2 seasons, just a slight dip, right? I mean, I would take that like 100 out of 100 times, but
yeah. I think it was just more bad luck, you know.
Yeah, well, I mean, his BABIP actually went down, so he actually had better luck. I don't know. He's had 200 strikeouts for 3 straight seasons. He's definitely one of the premier pitchers in the league. Just turned 30 last year. He's on a decent contract for the next 2 years. 28 million is a lot, but definitely worth that price.
Yeah. Pitching's a hot commodity in this league, if I do say so myself. It's one of those.
Yeah, there ain't much out there. That's true.
Yeah.
If you gotta get it, if you want one in free agency, you gotta pay for it. You gotta save your money, or not spend it all.
Some of the top ratings I noticed were like older too. So I was trying to think of ways to flex the budget and get them, but I'm like, I think one guy was like 35, another guy was like 36, and like I get skittish at that point. I'm like, nah, it's not that much when you're that old, you know.
Yeah. No, I agree. You never know. Like, some of these guys last forever, it seems like, but that's when you have to like start suspecting things. You know, you never know when they're gonna fall off that cliff. And I feel like it falls a lot quicker if you're a pitcher. Like, the pitchers die younger than the hitters.
Yeah, pitchers can disappear really fast. Yeah.
Yeah, I do agree with that. They spike hard and then they disappear. It's hard to get a good pitcher to stick around for a while. When you do, you pay them the money.
Just like Tim Lincecum.
I will say, Tampa Bay does. I will say, Tampa Bay does have another top 10 system that we're looking at here. He's the number 9th ranked system. He's got some decent prospects in terms of like the future to go with the pieces that he already has. So I mean, he's kind of like a middle team right now. Man, it's so hard to predict. Kind of like New Orleans. Like I have a little more faith in Tampa sticking around. Being competitive, I think, than I do for New Orleans, but it's tough to see them making a real run at the division over some of the other teams.
Yeah, I think you said it well. I think Tampa Bay's got enough talent where I don't see them bottoming out unless they have some catastrophic injuries. I just don't know if they have enough top end talent outside of Carmody to challenge for the division. So I think, challenging to be a wild card team is probably their path this year. But like you said, they do have some really intriguing pieces coming up that are close to the majors in the minor leagues that they've been drafting well. So I think they're kind of slowly moving towards that, window being open.
Yeah, for sure. And they have several pieces that are locked up for a couple of years here. This is kind of their year to see if they can do something, I think, and just improve that record by a couple games and get in the playoffs. I would pick them this year. Maybe I just cursed them again. I would pick them this year to make playoffs, maybe. And the next year is a huge question. There's 4 guys on, 4 of his 5 top contracts are all player options. They could opt in, they could opt out, and it could be a completely different Tampa Bay Cannons team next year. So I think Tampa's trying to run it back with these guys that really haven't gotten them over the hump. I'm not sure. One thing I don't do before the preseason podcast is kind of scout who signed who over the offseason, and maybe he added something here to make his team a little better. But yeah, I think Tampa is going to be one of those teams that's going to be close, and we'll have to see what happens.
Yeah, you make a good point with the player options. How do you guys typically feel about a player of Chris Carmody's caliber, who's one of the better ones in the league, but he does have a player option next year, and he's 30 now and will be 31 at year's end. Is that a player you guys might look to trade this year?
Oh man, that's a tough one, right? I mean, I think you think about it if you're competitive. I mean, non-competitive, excuse me.
Yeah, I'm thinking if it's so much it'd be a deadline kind of thing for me. So if you're even close to being in it, let it ride. If he declines, then it's kind of tricky in this league because we don't have the qualifying offer, right? So it's at least then you can try to extend him and see what he wants and move on from there. Maybe get him at a discount if no one can afford him. If he's asking $35 million a year, if you're out of it, yeah, I'd trade him for sure.
And I'd say if you're not trading him, I mean, the other option is to try to extend him, because sometimes if you're going into this year before an option year, they'll talk extension, that'll just guarantee that option year. So
yeah, that's true too. And I'm assuming he's extremely popular, so that should help your fan support too.
I know he's 30, but I'd trust him to like 33, 34 probably. And yeah, extremely popular. Totally.
Yeah, no injury history at all. That's
that is.
I'd say.
I think that is another secret tip that I will give out to any podcast listeners, that signing high fan interest guys in a league like this, where it's revenue based on your budget, can really help you have a better budget in future seasons. So even if you suck balls, just sign some popular players, fill that ballpark, and you'll probably get a budget increase in the next year or so.
With your ticket price locked too, so
yep,
you got to get that fan support up to get.
It's all about fan support. Yeah, you can't get revenue from ticket prices. So
right.
Yeah. All right. Anything else on Tampa?
Yeah. No, I think you're correct on that statement. I think they're going to be close maybe this year, but yeah.
Actually, I have one more guy I want to point out. Because we were talking about, I was talking about free agent signings. He did bring in a 1-year contract for Miguel Ortiz. It looks like it's going to be his closer, maybe. And the dude's a captain, so he brought in a character guy. We didn't look at Tampa's chemistry, if he has good chemistry on this team or not, but bringing in a captain, I always like that move. If you want to have a good clubhouse.
There's not that many in this league, or at least in free agency there wasn't. Like usually in single player, there's a ton, like a backup catcher you can pick from. So I think captains are even worth more in this league, which is kind
Yeah.
of cool.
Yeah, I definitely think they have value, for sure.
Oh, big time, yeah.
So yeah, he's got some good leadership on the team. Content's a good place to start when you're sitting in the preseason. I feel like no one's at that ecstatic until you get the season underway a little bit. So I think he's gonna have a decent clubhouse. A couple selfish guys, but you know. Little Cowboy. That's also Miguel Ortiz's nickname. Little Cowboy. How can you not like that nickname?
He's 5'10", 190. He's kind of little. Yeah.
Yeah.
Nickname checks out.
From Portland, the land of cowboys.
Yeah. Portland, Oregon. Is that true?
Portland, Oregon.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure I've heard of the Oregon Trail. It ended. Right? Portland, Oregon Trail.
That's true. That's true.
All right, yeah, let's move on to team number 5 in the division. That would be our 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Las Vegas High Rollers. Our new GM, Zach. Not new, he was here all last year, but yeah, he's established himself, I would say, at this point. He's got the best farm in the system, as we've kind of talked about earlier on in the podcast. He's got some really good pieces, it looks like, in his lineup. If you just look over there in like position rankings, I haven't looked through his team yet. Just from a bird's eye view, looks like he might have some dangerous pieces this year.
He might look like, he looks dangerous.
Depends if he's calling all these guys up or not, right? So
it's true.
I tried so hard to get Kane Chisholm.
Kane Chisholm, left fielder.
Couldn't get him.
Wow, yeah, he looks nice. He looks Steve Miller-ish.
Yeah.
Smashing home runs.
He's a good old boy.
Yeah. I mean, he played a full season last year, 1.3 WAR, so hopefully he's looking to improve on that. What held him back? I guess he doesn't. I mean, he really doesn't hit the gap. 15 doubles and 400 at bats.
I think Las Vegas's park kind of suppresses power a little bit too. When I was looking at that, that's why I liked him, because mine's the complete opposite, and I thought he'd be a beast in my park. But I think he kind of suppresses it.
Let's take a look.
Yeah, especially against right-handed batters too. Yeah.
Yeah, his BABIP was really low too. It looks like it was .209.
Yeah.
Which I know he has not great contact, but you would still expect something higher than that.
Yeah, like 250 maybe, or.
Yeah, for sure.
I think with his development, when I was looking at his development history, he kind of developed more as he played throughout the season, because I think he was at the bigs the majority of the season, and he kind of was rising as he got more time. So I think he could break out this year.
Yeah, I honestly, now that I'm looking at Zach's roster here, I think he's arrived. I think he's trying to compete this year. If these guys, again, I mean, we're not looking at his set opening day roster. I didn't pull those before the podcast, but if we're looking at like some of these pieces and he brings these up at opening day, I think it's going to be kind of like the San Diego effect last year, where just like out of the blue, this team's going to be really, really good. Aaron Smith, I think, has been one of my favorite players in the league, kind of secretly over here in Las Vegas. Even though they've been shitty, he's like, I mean, he was 24 when we started, so he was one of the younger players that was a stud. He's kind of going into his prime right now. I'm looking at Kyle Halas, who we signed last year, decent catcher. Like these pieces are just good. And what I'm looking at is Alejandro Martinez. That guy looks fucking ridiculous. This is going to be a shortstop. I actually don't think he can play shortstop. He's going to have to move positions. And he hasn't actually worked him out at any other position, so that's kind of a problem. But this guy's going to be a great offensive player.
Yeah, great second baseman at worst.
Yeah.
I was going to suggest that too. Great second baseman. Play him at second.
I would say maybe even first base, though. Honestly, well, maybe 55 range. I guess you get it done. Sometimes I see that low turn double play in the middle bases, though, and I don't know.
It's not that low.
That's true.
45? That's like, yeah.
Could be
He actually has some
Average.
nice-
Could be
50's
orange.
average. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So
He's got some nice
yeah,
outfield ratings too. Actually, he's got a 65 range in outfield, so
Oh, damn. I didn't even notice that.
pretty versatile guy.
Ooh, look at
yeah,
that.
that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So he could play like center field even. So
Yeah.
my advice to Zach would be to start training some other positions on this guy because shortstop is not it.
Yeah. Yeah. Not good at short.
But it's the only thing he's played at so far. He's got a 40 shortstop rating. He's got no other position ratings yet. So he's got to get that versatility going to be a top piece in this league, I think.
Yeah, and spring
Is there a
training is
reason-
usually a great time for that. So unfortunately, we just passed it.
Yeah, for sure. Is there a reason he has 1 year of service time?
Who's Martinez?
Yeah. I've only seen him at AAA. I just.
Oh yeah, he came up last year and he suffered an 8-month injury. So he's.
Oh, okay. Okay. Gotcha.
Yeah, I'm just noticing that his AAA numbers are from 2002. I might even start this guy in AAA to start the year and just like develop those positions and then call him up in like mid-May. It depends on again what Zach wants to do if he's trying to compete or.
Screw it. Play him. Let him learn. Let him learn in the bigs.
Develop him up. He's not smart, so he has to learn the hard way.
Yeah.
How's his lineup?
Aaron Harrison's also a stud on this team. He put up 6.7 WAR last year, and he's got crazy bars. And I really like the fact that he went out and he signed David Grieve from New York. He had a terrible season last year, but he's a really great defensive outfielder. So if you're looking to improve your defense, I feel like
Was that captain
like-
trait?
yeah, that's like a build around kind of guy, or not a build around kind of guy, excuse me, but like a plug a hole kind of guy.
Yeah, absolutely.
Aaron Smith locked up for a long time. Aaron Harrison locked up for a long time. So those two guys that are probably the studs of his team right now. I mean, Aaron Harrison's on a dirt fucking cheap contract. That is crazy. He's got him at $13 million a year for 5 years, and that guy is out of this world good.
That's cheating. How do we stop that?
yeah. No. Props to Zach for figuring out how to get that guy to sign that contract.
Yeah, that's awesome. He's definitely got more of a hitting focused team. His pitching, seems good to average, but I think his hitting can really be what carries him. For now, anyways, I don't know what the prospects look like.
I think that's. Has this guy pitched a game yet in the league? I don't think
Yeah,
so.
you're right. His pitching staff's pretty barren. I mean, Willie Fonseca looks like he's coming up being good to be good.
Yeah, he definitely looks like he's gonna be good.
He's just got so many pitches. That's 4 pitches. It's not that great. Yeah, but yeah, a lot of bullpen arms there. Not any starters. We've talked about his system though. We should probably check that out real quick. I think move on to the next team.
He's got Sean Hall, his number one.
He's got the
prospect.
number 1 and the number 2 prospects and the number 12 prospects. So he's got 3 of the top 12 prospects in the 2018 league. That's pretty fucking good.
That's
Um,
as of now because we got the draft going on.
And these guys are all pretty far away too, right? They're none of them have really developed yet. So
Yeah,
So he's trying to-
time off those guys. Yeah.
he's trying to compete now. Like it looks like he's trying to, take advantage of a kind of a weak division after Atlanta, I'd say, and try to get into the playoffs, and then maybe have these guys come up and sustain that success. So
I think they're a dangerous team coming
He's
up.
got a shot.
any last thoughts from anybody?
I like the youngness coming into this. It looks like a very young team, and it's
I will say, did he lose his top pitcher, or did he trade him last year? Jordan Adame, I see he leads the team in wins and strikeouts, career leader there. Yeah, Adame is now a Riverman, so
former pitcher of the year too.
you're right, Jason. It definitely looks like his pitching's gotten weaker.
That also explains the top system, though, because that's probably how he acquired some of those picks for the.
That's true. That's true.
Yeah,
I don't know. Was
yeah.
was that a trade or free agency? Can you
That was
tell
a
me?
trade.
It wasn't?
looks like.
Okay. I don't remember that going down, but I don't know. I
It's
just
a
kind of.
trade with Las Vegas.
go through the motions processing these sometimes. Sometimes I don't know what the hell y'all are doing. I say that just like I'm like that guy, what the fuck? But you know, hey, I'm trying to be impartial. Let you guys do your thing.
We don't know. We don't know either, so it's okay.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, some people just get scared to trade, right, Chris?
Yeah. I don't want to do it. It's scary.
Yeah.
I like
All
that
right.
guy.
Well, yeah. All right, let's go on to Galveston. You're afraid to trade with me because you think I'll cut you off,
Yeah.
which I'm going to. So,
Yeah.
yeah, let's move on to Galveston and Matt. Matt, as you remember, kind of took over. He didn't get to draft his own team, so he was the first GM to join post inaugural draft, but pre 2001. So he's been here since the beginning, but now with his own team, and he did a really good job of kind of flipping assets right away and building a pretty good system. I have no idea how that's going, so I'm excited to kind of look at his team and see, what he's done in terms of improving his chances to be competitive in the J division.
Just glancing over his active roster, it looks like a lot of potential that hasn't quite there yet, but I'm seeing a lot of 80s, 75s, 65s. Like,
Yeah, a lot of green,
yeah,
a lot of blue, and a lot of green.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he might have a really good pitching staff this year, I think. A lot of rookies, a lot of young guys. But, I mean, let's look here. Gary Liller. I guess this is a bullpen guy, right? But just go to pitching and sort by overall.
Yeah,
Back on the team screen.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and Eric Ryan as well, starting pitcher. He pitched in Double-A last year. This guy, I think, is a starter. He needs a third pitch at least. So,
Who'd you say again?
Eric Ryan, I think, right? So, yeah, definitely some young pieces about to turn that corner. Maybe a little bit with the pitching staff. Galveston used to, be a free win a couple seasons ago, and now he's going to not be a free win. It's going to be at least a tough game with some of these pitchers. Maybe some low scoring games.
Really, really low payroll too. I hope you buffed all that into player development. I would assume.
Yeah, he must. I think he's maxed out on.
Yeah.
He does have a low payroll.
Yeah.
He's got $34 million to spend right now, so he's cap space. Who knows? Maybe he swung and missed in the IAFA because Michael just landed all these giant fucking fish with his 1 bids. So everybody's gonna remember that number at least for next year, right? IAF. Oh yeah, 11,100,000. This shit to beat right there. So someone's gonna do 1. So, but yeah, low budget. Not a lot of guys lost time, right? He's got Mike Anderson, 27-year-old, and Miguel Lugo, 27-year-old, for really affordable contracts, and they're kind of good mid-range players that have put up like four WAR the last few seasons. Lugo's actually struggled, but Mike Anderson, 4 WAR last few seasons. I'm sorry, no, Lugo's been really good too. So. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I agree with you. I don't think they're going to be easy win anymore. They should compete more, get those rookies going.
Yeah, he's definitely got a nice rotation, like you said, so I think that can certainly take you places. Hitting's a little bit on the weaker side, but you never know. There's some guys that are lowering their asks in free agency, so maybe he's got some plans to add there, or trade for guys that are making money, or got some prospects coming up. But he's got a fairly young team, so I think he's on the up and up for sure.
Yeah, if not a surprise this year, I'd be scared next year with all that money available and guys developing this year. Like, This is a good, if you're rebuilding, this is a great way to do it.
I agree.
Yeah, and kind of the theme here, we talked about Las Vegas having the best system in the game. And I'm just going by the minor league preseason rankings. Obviously, those are not 100%. They're just kind of one interpretation within the game of systems. But Las Vegas with the number 1 system, Galveston's the number 10 system. So, top 10 systems, we've got 5 of our first 6 teams here in the Jade division. So a lot of future pieces to fill major league rosters are going to be coming from these teams here, and whether that means only 2 teams are making the playoffs every year, so everybody can have a really great system, but who's got the fucking best system and who's going to be the team to beat in 4 or 5 years? That's a really tough question to answer, I think.
I agree with that one.
Yeah, I do think it's cool to see all the talent coming into the league from all the drafts that we've had. I think it's really going to make the league really fun and competitive all around.
And I'm excited because I'm a fellow cellar dwellers myself, so
Apparently, I am too now. We'll get to that, but
you'll get used to it. So.
All right. Anybody have any other thoughts here on? Have we left anybody out that we should be crediting on Galveston that's been good the last few years? Or
No, I think we're good.
all right.
Is there another team?
There's one more team.
So he wasn't the cellar dweller. So I take that back from him.
He was not. Our last team is the Denver Dynamite and Joe. Yeah. Joe starting little fireworks tonight here in chat.
All right.
Yep. And Joe's a good guy. He's been helping with some of the behind the scenes stuff. He's definitely super involved too and has lots of questions, wants to know how things work, and so I appreciate his activity so far. We'll see if he can build a winning team and compete here. I think he's kind of got the longest. I think we'd all agree he's kind of got the longest maybe climb out of a hole. Just because the GM that preceded him was maybe not the best GM. Nice guy, not the best GM.
And by not the mess, you mean batshit crazy, right?
I do mean batshit crazy, but in the nicest way possible. I thought it was fun to have around. Had some really great dialogues in chat, but yeah, Joe has gone straight to rebuild mode as well, right? I think that's what a lot of GMs like to do when they kind of take over a new team. They like to make it their own, and he's sitting with the number 4 system here. So he is also, top 10, 6 of the 7 teams outside of New Orleans in this division are top 10 systems in our league. So let's take a look at his team. I feel like he doesn't have much. I feel like, what was his record last year? 66 and 96. So he really was in tank mode. Not too hard, which is kind of nice. And with the lottery here, it doesn't pay to go super hard on your tank. Definitely helps your lottery balls if you're in the bottom 4 records, but you never know what's going to happen, as Louisville found out in 2002 when they dropped from, I think, 1 to 12, which was pretty freaking brutal. Yeah, but let's take a look at his top players. What do you guys see here, Jason, Dean?
He's in a tough spot. Just kind of glancing, and I'm kind of with Jason. I haven't had a chance to really look over any teams, especially since I'm trying to figure out my team in the first 2 weeks. But yeah, this is kind of tough.
He's got Tommy the Milkman Ventura. Sweet name, by the way.
That's a cool name. Yeah.
Got a lot of pitches.
I do like Ventura.
I do like this player.
Like a lot, actually. And he's on he's locked up till he's 33, so we'll see if that if he sticks around that long. But I do like the contract. It's a steady $15 million. It's not too risky, He can write that off towards the end if he starts to digress.
Yeah. Super low BABIP consistently. I wonder what his park looks like. Like, that's low. 250, 260, 280. I don't know.
He's also got Tim Wabi.
This is pretty.
Johnson.
Dude,
He doesn't hit
Johnson.
home run. He doesn't hit home runs, but he's got like good batting average. 356 last year.
I'm surprised that didn't lead the. Well, maybe it
It
didn't
looks
qualify.
you didn't qualify, but it looks like
81
he got
games.
injured a lot. 10
Mm.
months, 5 weeks, 3 weeks.
Yeah, it's never good when it's a knee injury.
Looks like
24 years
Ground balls-
old, knee injury, and he runs a lot, so that's gonna be a problem.
Yeah, ground ball spray hitter who's fast. That's what you want with a ground ball
Yeah.
hitter.
Oh, for sure.
Perfect
Yeah.
ground ball hitter. Yeah.
I feel like those guys are always on the injury list, though, and it's probably there's probably something coded in where they're just like at more risk, right? Like when they're always running and always getting on and stuff like that.
Yeah, maybe if you're putting
More
it in
chances for
play,
collision. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
he's also got
I
this.
don't know, I feel like every time I have a profile like that, he's injured.
Also got Tommy Jones here. Fan fave here.
Good shortstop.
Looks like though
I do
he's
like that.
I think he's just good defensively.
Right. Yeah.
Not really a good offensive player. Let's check out his fielding stats. He's only played shortstop. His zone ratings
He's got-
aren't great.
He's got a negative zone rating, really.
That's
Wow.
crazy.
That's surprising, yeah.
That is.
I forget what year Joe said his window was. It was something. I feel like he said 2006.
2010.
So I don't think he said 2010. I think he said 2006. So I think we're.
I think I saw 2010 somewhere. That's Huron, I believe.
Yeah,
I
that's
will
Huron,
say-
yeah.
Okay, yeah. I feel like Huron's getting. Well, we'll get there, but I think they're getting closer. Rob Coffey is still owed like $16.7 million a year by Denver for the next 3 years, and that's someone he traded off to Louisville. So it's going to be a little, strapped for cash for a couple of years. So yeah, I think he's not looking to compete this year, or maybe next year, or maybe even the year after that. But he does have a plan in place. Again, he's a pretty experienced GM, and I'm sure he's got some idea on what he wants to do to try to compete here in the J division. Ventura's the only guy who's got locked up, and Dennis Bringman, this just a random relief pitcher, but these are the only guys he's got locked up for a really long time. So, and I think Ventura moves is a pretty good move.
Yeah. He's got the number 4 prospect with Ricky Marrow.
Yeah, Marrero. Yeah, Ricky Marrero looks pretty good. He's going to strike out a ton, but if that power fills in, that's with that gap and that contact, nice.
IAFA
Five
signing.
Yeah, man, IAFAs are the shit. People who don't export when the IAFA
16
starts
now.
are crazy.
This guy's 16. Has a 16
Yeah.
year old is the number 4 prospect right now. That's crazy.
You'll never know what's going to happen with him.
That's crazy.
Were you saying something, Dean?
Oh, I was saying, with the power, the fly ball pull profile, too, with power, that's the perfect combination.
Yeah. Yep, long ways to go, but yeah, man, it's crazy. Those people, again, the GMs who don't export like in spring training when the IAFA starts, I'm telling you guys, you gotta like be on that date because there's so many good players that come out of fucking IAFA. I feel like it's almost lopsided. Horsefall, definitely like that guy. I think he was a top pick, wasn't he? The 12th rounder. Yeah.
I think he was somebody
We
else.
were talking.
I think me and you were talking about this guy.
I was talking with San Diego Alex, who's my brother. I was talking to him about this guy.
Yes.
And we were almost talking about him as the 1-1 that year. And he fell to
correct.
112, and Joe got him, and he's a really good prospect.
That's correct.
So, I mean, the only reason he's not the 1-1, right? He's a first baseman. There's not a lot of value in that position, but he looks like a sexy hitter.
Yeah, he does.
Yeah.
I know. I think he was a designated hitter because he doesn't even look that good as a first baseman.
Great personality, too. Like, that guy's going to develop. For
He's
sure.
like he has no like defensive ratings at all.
Yeah. Yep, he's a pure DH first base. Maybe not even first base, probably DH if you can afford to.
I would just DH him. He's like your David Ortiz, if that's his personality. That captain right there,
Yeah, that is a great personality. That's a good point. I didn't see that.
He's 6'8". He can play first.
Yeah, wow, is he 6'8"?
If
Wow.
he's 6'8", he can play first.
He's 6'8". Throw it high. It don't matter.
I never look at that. It's the second time. I don't know if Jason mentioned it before or you did, but I never look at height. That's kind of interesting to kind of
Well,
think about
I think a year or two ago, I remember watching some videos on OTP, and they did say that height definitely affects your first base defensive
I
rating.
did read.
Wow.
I think I
Alright.
read that.
Yeah.
I think I read that on Reddit somewhere as well.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's like
Tidbit.
a boost.
Podcast tidbit.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's like
There you go.
taller your first baseman. I think I remember that too because I think I had a first baseman one year, not in this league, in a previous league, and he was really tall. I think he was like 6'6" or something like that. I think his name was Bob Rogers, the man.
It's a big ass target to throw to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Any last thoughts on Denver Dynamite?
You know, tough road ahead of them, but if they got a plan in sight, do it.
Yeah, I'm feeling they're the cellar dwellers for the next few years, but we'll see what they can do.
That's even harder in the online league because you gotta wait.
Well, hey, hopefully our league's pretty fast paced, so you don't have to wait too long, right? I love actually how fast our league is. I've got it down to a math now. I think it's going to be a 3-week season every single year. And it's going to be 1 week of playoffs. So if you get a 4-week season if you're Atlanta Jason, and then 2-week off season. So we're just going to have a 6-week continuously rotating thing. So we'll get through almost 10 seasons a year, So my math is bad. We'll get through like 8 and quarter, 8.5.
Yeah, that's not bad. I like the 2-week sim idea. That's big. I like that. Yeah.
I agree. It's definitely a great league structure to do a rebuild because how fast these seasons go, it doesn't have you just kind of waiting and waiting forever. So it's kind of fun because you get to do the roster building construction and see it come to fruition sooner rather than later.
I agree with that 100%.
Yeah, it must make finishing last place every year more bearable for you, Chris.
Shut your mouth. Get ready. Get ready to be angry.
All right, so that's the end of the Jade division. Why don't we rank them? We like to rank them here. So
I'll start off.
one of these times, I'm gonna actually save our rankings. I forgot what we did last year, but
so somebody save them and post it for us.
I'm gonna write them down. So I'll try to save it this time. So yeah, Chris, start us off. Where do you think these teams are gonna finish?
Well, since he's here, I can't say he's gonna win it. So
That'd be a fun shot.
That'd be sure bet. It's a sure bet. So, nah, you crazy? Okay.
I mean, honestly, if we all pick Jason, he's definitely not gonna win it. So that'd be motivation to pick Jason.
Oh yeah, okay. If you're putting your hex on Jason, then yeah, Atlanta's gonna win for the division. I think Fort Collins probably second. I think it's gonna be another Atlanta Fort Collins. I think we gotta see that for another year. I don't know. I want to put Las Vegas there. You know what? Screw it. Las Vegas second.
Okay.
Those rookies are gonna cook. And
Okay.
Fort Collins is going to be third. It's going to be a really tight division, better division this year. I'm going to go Tampa fourth, Galveston, and Denver. And no, I forgot New Orleans. New Orleans, Tampa, New Orleans,
Galveston, Denver.
Sorry for
Cool.
that mess.
Okay. It's funny too. We said that the J division's weaker, but actually the Topaz division was just so fucking terrible that this league even had like 4 teams that were like above 500. So, like every division seemed really good last year except for Topaz, which we'll talk about someday in this podcast. All right, Dean, Jason, who wants to go next?
I'll jump in. I missed. I was away from the mic. I missed a lot of Tampa Bay, so I'm gonna pick them first. Why not? And then,
All right.
Anyways.
don't worry, Jason. I got you second.
Oh, shucks, you shouldn't have.
What you miss about Tampa Bay is that I like to pick them and it jinxes them every year. But
Oh, perfect. Yeah, Tampa Bay #1 all
now
the
you
way.
can take that
and
over.
then and then Atlanta. The only thing about Las Vegas that scares me is again their pitching. I'm also running off of I'm trying to catch up in scouting. It seems like every time you start a new league, your accuracy is like always very low. So I'm
Yeah.
trying to catch up with them. So I might be wrong on this, but their pitching, I don't know. I might have them maybe fourth, Fort Collins third, and then Nola and Denver.
Galveston?
Again, Galveston, put them in there somewhere. I'm still trying to catch up with all the teams right
No
now.
worries. Yeah. All right. All right. Yeah. What about you, Jason?
Well, I certainly can't pick against myself, and if I did, I think my owner would be pissed because he wants me to win it all again, which is pretty unreasonable. That greedy fuck.
That is funny.
Yeah. So I'll go Smashers, take it back, and then I'm gonna go Mudcats, New Orleans Mudcats for second. I really like their hitting, and I think
All
they
right.
are kind of up and coming. So I think they're gonna take over the second spot. Sorry, Kyle with Fort Collins, if you're listening. But I'll have you slotted in there right behind him at number 3. And then I'm going to go with Las Vegas coming in at number 4 with a lot of their young guys coming up. I think he's going to bring some of those prospects up. They might go on a late season run to pick up some momentum going into the next year. Then I'll have Tampa Bay 5th, and then Galveston 6th, and Denver 7th.
All right. And I will join the team and outside of Dean. Dean's the rebel here, but I'll pick Atlanta first. Pay respect to the champion until you're not the champion. I'll pick second. I'll pick Tampa. So maybe I will give them a mini kiss of death here. Actually, I think, like I said, this is their last kind of window before their team might look completely different. So, maybe if Tampa's close, they make that push at the deadline to get over the hump. Third, I'm gonna disrespect Fort Collins like everybody else and put them third. But although third could be a playoff spot, so it's not that big of a disrespect. Fourth, I am gonna put Las Vegas. I think they're maybe a year away from being a playoff team. But I also feel like I'm gonna be wrong about that, and they're gonna prove all of us wrong. Except for Chris, who actually picked them second.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, no, I feel like if there's anything that we're definitely wrong about, it could be that one, but I'm just going to stick with fourth. And that's probably just out of fear of Kyle and Collins and the miraculous coaching job he's done. Fifth, I'm going to go with New Orleans as well. So if Jason's right, he's going to prove a lot of us wrong in terms of his season here. Sixth and seventh, I think we're all the same, Galveston and Denver. As they're just not there yet. Yeah, I think Galveston, again, has got a lot of young, good pitching pieces. Not sure about the offense and not sure if they can really sustain over 162. And then Denver is not trying to compete this year, so I think they're definitely the worst team in the division. So, yeah, cool. All right, do you guys want to take a quick break? Maybe like a 2 or 3 minute break, and then we'll move on to the Sapphire division?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, I can try a beer quick.
yeah.
Sounds good. Yeah, I want to just grab a drink and.
I was gonna say I gotta take a leak.
All right, yeah. So yeah, try to make it quick, and then we'll be back here. It's 9:16 on my clock. Try to be back like 9:20 if that works for you guys. And we'll keep going.
Sounds good.
All good.
Cool.
Sounds good.
All right, great. Here we go. Back with the podcast. I think the next thing we're going to look at here is the Sapphire division over in the Ice Conference. And, I think we've all kind of agreed this has been a really grueling division over the first 3 years. A lot of big talent in this division and teams who basically, were good to start the inaugural season and then traded for more and more assets and didn't give a fuck about the current system. So, but a huge arms race here in the Sapphire division for the first few years.
Yeah, it's been a juggernaut.
And yeah, for the first time, I think Philly
didn't make the playoffs, I believe.
Yeah, it was the first year they didn't win the division, so Lehigh kind of took things over. So we're going to start over in Lehigh Valley. In Lehigh, if we want to meet the team, I think they've been in the playoffs every year, right? Yeah,
Yes,
they've
they
been consistently there. So, I think
he's been my championship series opponent the last 2 years.
Yeah,
I believe
They say
there was a rematch this year. I forgot about that.
let me go back to this screen and so everybody can see on the Twitch view. Thanks for telling me, guys.
Oh, yeah, it's unfortunate. But no, for real. He's got Rich Gordon, right? Rich Gordon went down for an injury last year, like a pretty severe injury, and didn't play most of the season, and he still made the championship series. So he's got a really talented team. 5-month injury in June, so that's missing a good chunk of that season.
Yeah.
And Rich Gordon is the fucking man. That guy a lot. Probably my top 10 favorite player in the league.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's solid.
Can play every position, it looks like.
Yeah.
Yeah, no batting splits, line drive.
Fast, powerful.
Yeah. The only thing I'd be concerned about is in this case it's not a long contract, but I kind of am scared about guys with low adaptability, work ethic, and intelligence. Are they gonna hold up? Like, or are they gonna fall apart?
Yeah,
that's he's only 27, 28 though, so he's in his prime, so he might be cool until he hits 30, which is about when the contract ends. So I guess that works out.
Here's my question with all that though. All that work ethic and adaptability and intelligence, he can't do all that, but he can play every single position. And some of them, all of them well. I don't get it.
I feel like Kyle put him on the trade market last year too, and I don't know if that was serious or not, but you got a good point. I mean, I really do take a lot into personalities, especially when it comes to the guys you want to build your team around, right?
You just don't want assholes.
That's why I struggle so much with New Orleans and being like Steve Miller's the guy. Like, as good as Steve Miller is, I feel like Steve Miller's like a journeyman champion, not like a franchise player.
Yeah, but he's in his prime now, and if you're going for it, I mean,
that's true. Lock him up at 25, right?
Yeah. What else do you want? Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm okay with that. Yeah.
Tim Holdren, stud on this team, starting pitcher. He's got that out of this world stuff. He's a fly ball pitcher, which I'm always kind of scared of, but I feel like anytime I run a franchise in this game, I'm in home run hitter parks, so.
Yeah. Those low movement guys really scare me, but
they
can strike out a lot of people like this guy can. 284 strikeouts last year.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the thing. I mean, if they can't hit the ball, they're not hitting a home run.
Well, it looks like he got him back because he was on New Orleans last year.
And from New Orleans. Wow. Yeah. Wow. Interesting.
It's a nice reunion.
Yeah.
Roll it back.
Yeah, roll it back. Oh, and he came off injury with Lehigh, so that's probably why he left. Like Lehigh, no, he only won 100 innings 2002. That's kind of interesting. He was a starter?
He must have been a trade or something. Who knows?
I don't see that stat line, but interesting. 33 starts for Lehigh, 102 innings in 2002. It almost feels like something with the settings, like maybe he was on a pitch count for some reason. I do remember, actually, now that I think about it, I think Kyle got married, or engaged at the beginning of the 2002 season, which, congratulations. So maybe he just kind of fucked up his lineup with Tim Holdren for a little bit. Because if you remember, in 2002, Kyle started like 11 and 27 or some stupid shit, and then still made the fucking playoffs. Like he went on this crazy run and beat Baltimore like by one game to knock him out of the playoffs that year.
I think he was letting his fiance set his lineup for the first couple sims.
Yeah. So no, he's got some studs, right?
Yeah. I mean, like this Omar Ramirez guy's pretty good. Extreme ground ball pitcher. You got Rich Gordon at shortstop, you know.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
I
Rest
He
of his
did lose a
infield's-
couple good pieces just from paying attention to it. I know outfielder Jason Gartz, who was one of the better hitters in the league, he lost to free agency. And then a second baseman who he traded for, Matt Johnson, who was pretty solid, he lost too. So it's interesting. He's got a fairly decent group together here. You know, maybe not as strong as he was, but you're bringing Rich Gordon back. Still got some other talent, so I don't think he's necessarily going anywhere. We'll see if he's got enough though.
Yeah, that's a good point. Those are two really good pieces that he's losing.
Yeah, I'm just looking through his lineup. Defensively, outside of Rich Gordon, I guess Gross is okay. He's got a really good center fielder, but I think it's a home run park. Yeah, it's a home run park, which is, if you're in a home run park, I kind of depress outfield defense because if they're hitting it, it's going over the wall anyway.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Can't
It's
get
kind of, yeah, it's kind of, yeah, I don't know. Just first time looking at it, kind of weird.
He got 6 WAR from Johnny Stone last season, which is, he's 25 years old. Doesn't have the craziest bars, so I'm not sure if that's sustainable, but maybe relying on him to have another good year. But, yeah.
Neutral BABIP, too. Like, yeah. Huh. Great defensive left fielder. Maybe that boosted it a little bit.
I think he's certainly in an interesting position too, because looking at his salary screen too, he's got a lot of money on expiring contracts coming off the books, so could be a good thing,
wow.
but could also be the type of season where if it doesn't start out well, he looks to kind of sell some pieces off and retool perhaps. So could be an interesting season for him.
Yeah, $70 million. That's a windfall. Damn.
For sure, and he doesn't have any like really bad contracts. He's got some long-term guys, but they all look promising. It's not like he's committed to any mistakes so far, so he can definitely have some flexibility moving.
Yeah.
He's out a relief pitcher for the year.
I will say what you see is what you get with Lehigh, because they have the 26th system in the league, which is towards the bottom, of course. But he's not alone with his companions, as we'll find out here in the Sapphire Conference. They don't really believe in farm systems in the Sapphire division. It's all about win now. That is the trend early on in this league.
Yeah. It was very first on. Yeah, they're a good team. I think with the expiring contracts, it's going to be a decision maker this year if they're doing good.
I think Elijah Porter could be a future 1 or 2 in the league. He's 24 years old. He's got a decent start. I actually like his starting rotation.
I think if he's got a good starting rotation, then
like if you've got 3 solid guys and you can just kind of plug and play with 2 other ones to be consistent, I think he's going to be decent.
Yeah, good looking 1-2 and Holdgren and Ramirez for sure.
Yeah. All right, let's move on to the next team. New York finished second in the division. New York's been, New York's been not a bad team, a hard luck team as well. Because I feel like they've had maybe one of the best rosters in the TBL. over the first 3 seasons, but they just haven't been able to translate that into a deep playoff run. Out in the divisional series twice, lost the wild card round. So, yeah, great roster coming back again this year, but can these guys get it done in the postseason if they make it that far?
I think this is going to be a scary team this year. But it looks
Yeah,
like
but I feel like they were a scary team last year and before too. I mean, they definitely got like huge pieces, right? Like these are some of the better pieces in the TBL. Like if you want to, just click up and down the lineup, he's got monsters in this lineup, right? His pitching staff isn't terrible. Like or maybe his pitching staff is terrible.
yeah, it looks like
I don't
that's
know.
the guy.
Tell me.
Yeah,
No, he's got. Let's see here.
but it's hard to tell. Hard telling because we don't really know what.
Eee.
Yeah, but you can just like kind of go to pitching, sort by like just like rating, kind of look at some of the guys.
Does
He's
not
got a
look
couple
very
guys.
appealing unless I'm missing some guys.
No, oof.
Yeah, his pitching staff looks like it's hurting a little bit. I don't know. Did he lose
Ouch.
anybody in free agency that we know?
Well, he definitely lost the pitcher I traded him, Jose Rosario, I believe.
Okay, yeah.
It's like he's got one guy still on the IL for another 4 or 5 months who's pretty solid, but
Well, Jose Rosario is still on the team.
yeah.
Is he?
Yeah,
Where?
he's one of their better players, though.
Oh, there he is. Oh, he's a relief pitcher.
Yeah,
I
I
was just
mean,
gonna say that's interesting. Yeah, maybe just a spring training thing, huh?
Yeah, it must be a spring training. He was.
trying to avoid injury.
Yeah, didn't want to get him hurt.
Yeah, I mean, looking at Muniz, I mean, I think he's been one of the best hitters in the league early on. 40 home runs a year, guaranteed. He strikes out a ton, but yeah, I mean, he's been a monster. Gary Smith's been a monster. He's got the good
Well,
bullpen.
just try to
So.
outmatch everybody and say screw pitching.
Yeah. His closer's good. I mean, unfortunately, he's paying him $23.5 million a year, which.
Could be his. I think he's a starter.
Oh yeah, I understand. Yeah, he's doing that too. Alex Lopez, that's the guy he traded for. That I was trying to find. So that was a trade with Louisville. So yeah, he's just kind of hiding these guys here. He's got some good pieces.
Yeah, you're right. Because
We
this
found
guy's
him.
starting. For
We
sure.
found him.
We found him.
We
Yeah.
found him.
You can't
Man,
sneak one by us, Matt. What are you trying to do?
There you go.
Trying to play a trickster moves on us here.
So, no, 4 good pitches. Yeah. He's got all the same good pieces. I think he's a definite playoff team in my eyes. He's got to get to that next level and beat Jason. That's the thing, right?
Yeah.
Jason, what do you think? Can this team beat you in the postseason?
I do not think so.
I like that confidence. Just stick with your guns. You're done, Matt. You're done.
Pretty confidently thinking that he possibly cannot maybe beat me.
Yeah. Well, no one can go like 6 games with you right now, so I'm not going to doubt you. So, and guess what? So Lehigh had the 26th ranked minor league system. New York has the 27th ranked minor league system. So I'm kind of keeping on with the trend of no assets at all. So hopefully he can make that next step push that he's been trying to make the last few years, and his team can get over the hump. Or he's going to be. Yeah, he doesn't have much to fall back on in the next few years. Once we get beyond that.
Yeah, he just needs to get that win in the
I mean, yeah.
in the playoffs. I think he's good. I mean, he's definitely a playoff team. So
He's locked on these guys too that we've been talking about. I mean, he's got them signed through 2006 for the most part. getting a couple options in there, but yeah, I think his core's like locked up. So he's gonna be like good as long as these guys don't digress.
Yeah, I agree.
Or regress, one of the two. Any other thoughts? Any other thoughts on New York?
Yeah, I was down on their starting rotation until we caught him.
Yeah, until we got him,
So,
exactly. It was like 2020,
Yeah.
2030. Who are these guys?
Yeah, no, that's actually just like a good big three at the top. I mean,
Yeah.
and then you package that with a great looking offense. I'm not seeing anything scary defensively on his team either. Like that, yeah, that's a solid package for sure.
Yep. And we're talking about again a GM who's been in the playoffs 3 straight years, 98 wins, 92 wins. So yeah, expect good things from New York.
Yeah, I don't see him going anywhere anytime soon.
Yeah. All right. So third place was our next GM. Third place was Somerville money line.
Yeah, they led the division for a long time, didn't they, last year?
Yeah, JR got off to a like really hot start in the division. Couldn't hang on to the division lead, but I mean, again, it was really just a brutal division last year. But they just, it's kind of funny. They had a great 2001 season, and then they just kind of fell off a cliff in 2002, and then right back there in 2003. So you tell me what's going to happen this year with JR and the Somerville money line, because I have no idea.
Interesting, yeah. Fun to watch. He still has DJ Marksberry, so
That guy's a beast. I was just looking at him. That guy's a beast.
yeah.
Wow.
He had a league, or I think how many games in a row he like didn't have a hit or something like that. How many innings?
I don't know, but he is ridiculous. 10 strikeouts per 9 innings. So that's like his average over the last 3 years. I mean, yeah. Pitcher of the year, 2001. He's definitely super good, but I mean, he's got good pieces all throughout his lineup.
Yeah, he's just a great pitcher.
He picked up Bill Rowe from Denver last year, and I think that was like a huge pickup for him. Bill Rowe played really, really well in Somerville after playing really, really poorly in Denver first 50 games. So turned it around. He's on a big contract and locked into Bill Rowe for quite a few seasons. So hopefully that continues.
I think it's interesting that his top 2 or 3 pitchers are kind of the big ground ball profile, even though his park is conducive to ground ball hitters. Like it suppresses power but improves average and gaps and stuff. So that's kind of different.
Yeah.
But when you're Marksberry, who cares, right? It's fine.
Yeah, a strikeout pitcher can pitch in any park, right?
Yep, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
I really like his center fielder too. I think having a good center fielder is important. I mean, it doesn't have that 65 range that you were talking about earlier. That I agree with you. I do think is important. So he's kind of he's actually played left field. Looks like the last few years. So Nelson Reyes. So I'm not sure what his plan is for him this year, but he looks really nice.
And if you can hit like that, I mean, you're a tad below average in center. I think obviously from the WAR, which apparently doesn't matter, but from the WAR, it offsets it. And I'm kind of the same way with catcher anymore too. Like if I can get a catcher who's even a 50 rating but can hit like that, I'm gonna go for that. Like I don't know, kind of a different direction I've been thinking lately.
Yeah.
He's got another outfielder too, named Elias Huerta, who's listed as a center fielder. This guy with his eye discipline at an 80 potential and a potential 55 contact definitely looks like a really nice top of the order type of hitter who's only 24 years old and continuing to get better. He may be a little bit light defensively in center field with only a 60 outfield range. He was
Yeah, he's
batting 0.07 last year ZR, which is not bad, but it's not a plus defender. But with the bat, especially, this is definitely a guy you can put at the top of your lineup who should be getting on base a ton, which is really nice.
Yeah, I agree. Elias Huerta, yeah, he's got a 4.2 WAR looks like last year, and he's a fan favorite already at 24. He's got the nickname Dirty Dave. I mean, that's a quality guy right there. I like Somerville. You know, JR's contract screen's really interesting. Goes hard on the team options, let me tell you. But he's got a ton of micro contracts, a ton of guys signed for just like a couple of years for low amounts of money. It's kind of interesting. I really think that Nelson Reyes guy we were just looking at, who I really like. I mean, he's on a $6 million contract for the next 3 years. That's really attractive.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
it makes him even more valuable.
So I feel like he's like trying to have a competitive team out there, but he must have a lot in his budgets as well.
He has no money for extensions, so he's used it all.
Put it all in.
And so, yeah, the theme here, you get the Somerville money line have the 28th ranked minor league system of 28 teams. So we've reviewed 3 teams, and they've been the 3 worst systems in the league. So they must be trying to win. Again, they had a roller coaster second year, but I assume the goal is playoffs and hopefully a deeper run because I believe JR's lost 7 straight postseason games, back-to-back sweeps last 2 times they've been in. So trying to turn that around, obviously. While they still can.
Yeah.
All right, on to the next one.
Yeah, next team. Who was in 4th?
The 4th place team in the Sapphire was the Montreal Machine, and this is one of our playoff teams here in the Sapphires. They did send the 2 wild cards to postseason last year. So Montreal did get to the what was it? The divisional round against Jason before getting knocked out. And of course, Ben was running the team last year. Ben, who, just was kind of surprised that he left. Honestly, he kind of just like up and decided to vacate one day. So hopefully all is well with him, and he has finds whatever he's looking for. He's always welcome back here if he ever wants to rejoin. And so we have a new GM in Montreal, obviously, and he's been here on the podcast with us tonight. Super excited to talk about his team, I hope. And that is Dean, of course. So, Dean, why don't you take it away here for the Montreal Machine?
Yeah, it was kind of interesting when I first got to look at the team. I was really ready to go into teardown mode. Last GM, and I don't know if this is, I'm realizing this now, it might have been from the inaugural draft, but I seem to have a lot of really expensive depth, and that's why I made a lot of trades where I was just hacking guys off, 50% for nothing, 50% off for nothing. My payroll was really high, and I couldn't really fill holes to be a contender in my mind. So I tried making some big trades, obviously with Matt Mace, with not Moss is staying, Aaron Allen, those kind of guys, Villarreal, just trying to get that payroll down. And nobody bit on any of that. So I kind of pivoted with trying to save money where I could, cutting some fat, even if it's a discount. They were relatively shorter term contracts. And then I figured, well, I got an okay rotation, so let's bolster the bullpen, because the bullpen wasn't really that good outside of Almazar and Petro. So that's why my only 2 big free agent signings were like Gonzalez and Tim Miller. Trying to build a back half of the rotation with these these stopper slash closer guys who can take over in the 6+. I'm trying to build to my ballpark strength, which is, my park kind of looks like an egg when you look at it. Like the corners are very short, only 314 to left and right, down the lines, and only a 7-foot wall. So my entire plan is to either strike guys out or get a ground ball when I can, play some really good infield defense, which is why I picked up Hollenbach, trying to get a super D between Hollenbach, Cruz, and Figueroa, and now Paul Tizard too, who's going to be a great first baseman after I played him through spring training that way. Maybe going a little fast, just kind of thinking about it in my mind, but that's kind of my plan. Just try to outslug guys and try to get ahead early and let the big four take over at the back end of the bullpen, kind of thing.
Yeah, that's awesome.
I don't know
And, go ahead.
how I missed it, but I would certainly trade for Matt Mace if you still want to move him.
He's hurt. I don't know. I'm kind of stuck now. I can't go in FA and get anybody else.
Looks like he might be better now, is he not?
Yeah, he missed basically all of spring training, so I'm just giving him a rehab to stretch him out, and he'll be back before the end of April.
Gotcha.
And if we're talking about illegal moves for the league, trading Jason, Matt Mace is definitely not allowed.
Yeah, we gotta bar
And
this.
I had interests. I had interest from a couple of teams, but like I gave them the price, and they were like, "Oh, fuck that." So,
Yeah, can land it. Yeah.
Fair enough.
I'll take Steve Moss instead. Fine.
Oh, that guy! I love that guy in the park. Fly ball power,
Yeah.
man. I love it. Love
He's
it.
awesome.
I think the trade deadline comes quick here, and depending on where your team is at that point, teams get a little more aggressive. Hopefully, we have some money here to spend at the trade deadline, and you never know what these contracts will look like. And maybe you're just going to be another good team this year because you were last year. Definitely
Yeah, I
could.
think looking at
Run it
history,
back.
what was Montreal like really bad the first 2 years? Because I
No,
know a lot of like
they were like
look like
they were like 500ish, a little below 500. So like 76,
okay.
86, and then 79, 83. So they've progressively gotten better. He actually did draft really young players in the inaugural draft, so he had a lot of like 22 and 23 and 24-year-olds. I will say the one thing with the GM Ben, the guy that preceded you, excuse me, is that he really focused on the financials of this league and didn't really understand that this isn't Major League Baseball. Like our financial system's completely different from real life, and he just really had a tough time wrapping his head around that, I think, and there was a small language barrier there as well, so I was having a tough time explaining it to him. So I think that also is maybe part of why he left the league, but he really struggled, maybe if you see some weird contracts, like understanding the dynamics, I think, of the financial system here.
Yeah, I got a couple of guys where I'm like, that's a UD bench guy, and he's making like $9 million a year for the next 2 years. I'm like, oh great, I could have used that on a number 2, but oh well, we'll figure it out.
Yeah,
we'll figure it out.
But yeah, no, I think you're gonna compete, right? Like, I think your team's in pretty good shape.
I'm
Yeah, I
kind of
hope
curious since you joined the league a few years later about your strategy. I mean, obviously you weren't here for the inaugural draft, but when the previous GM was here, I think he had last pick in the first round and first pick in the second round.
Yeah.
And I don't know how much research you did, but he ended up taking back-to-back starting pitchers to start it off, which I thought was a pretty interesting strategy with all the hitters that were kind of going off the board. So maybe it's kind of hard to answer this, but what's kind of your thoughts when you draft or build kind of a new team from scratch? Are you okay with that approach? Would you kind of prefer more hitters to start?
that's a good
Best player
question.
available, maybe.
Yeah, if you're just because I've never done an inaugural draft like ever, but just thinking about it, yeah, I would go Best available in the inaugural draft, were the contracts like already set? Is that how that works?
No, the game predetermines them based off of their skill and their age. I didn't realize it was actually explains it really well in the Out of the Park manual. And I didn't read that shit till after we set this league up. But yeah, it just kind of auto assigns contracts.
Yeah, you'll notice some funky service times for some players as well.
Yeah, I did notice that. Yeah, that threw me way off at first because I was
There's
like, how does this guy have 10 years? Yeah, and it's a 3-year thing. But anyway, that would be a factor in it, contracts. I would go best available. If I was just starting a team, I would probably go with higher potential, lower commitment, depending on where I was drafting. But as far as pitchers versus position players, nah, it's best available for maybe the first 10, 20 rounds and then fill in the gaps with either potential or just probably potential for later and then go to free agency and patch what you can after that. Just thinking out loud on the spot there.
Yeah, it was definitely an interesting strategy. I mean, I think when it happened, I think the previous GM was definitely zigging, when everyone else was, picking, because I think, well, obviously he was the first team to have 2 starting pitchers, so I think immediately he was one of the top pitching teams in the league. I mean, I know some pitchers had gone previously in round 1, but I think it was definitely an interesting strategy to attack pitching heavy with your first 2 picks, because then obviously he doesn't pick again until the end of the 3rd round. So by that point, you're missing out on some good hitters. But it was an
Oh yeah,
interesting
because it's a snake. I didn't think about that. It's a snake draft.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, because you can't win if you can't score. So that's a
Yeah.
really good point. Yeah.
I mean, I think you still got the 2 top guys around. Matt Mace was the first rounder, and I think I saw the second rounder still on your team. So, they weren't bad picks. I mean, Mace still looks great. He's still 26 years old, so it's not like he put you in a hole by any means, but it's just interesting when you think about the team construction point of view from the draft, how all the different strategies come into play and what our personal preferences are, considering the ballpark and division and everything else that goes into it.
Yeah, absolutely. Looking through my rotation, I mean, after Mace, I don't think I would have taken any of these guys number 2nd round. so, yeah, not. I mean, they're all right, but I wouldn't pick them 2nd round, first pick. No.
Yeah, pitching was, I believe, in the beginning of the first year was really, really bleak. Wasn't it? Can't remember.
Yeah, I don't know. It was kind of weird. It seemed like we were really a hitter-heavy league if you looked at the prospects. I think that's just the way Out of the Park does the ranking systems now, to be honest. I'm starting to adjust more to it. But it seemed like we were really a hitter-heavy league, but then if you looked at the statistics of some of the teams, they had, like, really great, pitching staffs. So it's really kind of hard to tell, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. Yeah, there's some... Like, you can get, like, really great production out of, like, a 45, or a 50 if you're looking at ratings. You just really got to look at bars and you got to look at statistics from the previous years because it really matters. Like, that's really bread and butter, right? Like, how do they do? Like, how have they performed? Can they do it for you? All right, Montreal has the number 13 system, so that's above and beyond anybody here in the Sapphire division. So
Yeah, there's a couple. I think it's more top heavy. There's a couple guys in the lower minors that I'm really excited about. So like Travis Plath. Is it Travis? Yeah, Travis
Yep.
Plath.
Yeah.
Tom Larson. Again, like I get the huge catcher ability love. I was like that a lot with Austin Hedges a couple years ago. He was the beast, but I think OOTP kind of changed that just last year. And so if a guy can get on base like him and hit like him, I'm okay with 50 catcher ability.
For sure, yeah. I mean, those are great offensive bars.
Right. Like Bartolome, who's way down in low A. He's a fly ball. Will play good enough defense at second and and for power. So I like some of the deep. Hutchins looks really good as a pitching prospect. So it's going to be a couple years, but I like it. It's kind of a good balance. And I try to make my contracts kind of mirror that. I've extended a lot of guys this year to like the 5-year deals. So trying to find that little niche in between. Okay, the young guys are coming up. We're getting the older guys out and maybe hit free agency in 2 years, something like that.
Yeah. Well, you're the number one system Sapphire. You've got a pretty competitive team right now. You've got the brightest future, so you might be able to have some good success there here through the rest of the decade. So yeah, good stuff. On to the next one.
On next team.
All right, next up is Baltimore and Steve. So everybody knows, well, the new GMs don't know Steve's story, but Steve's kind of been the hard luck GM of the league so far. Had really tough injury history in year one. Had a really big wild card lead in year two. I think was like 9 games up on the wild card and ended up missing by 1 game.
Yeah.
So kind of collapsed on the stretch. And then last year had to go into game 163 against Montreal just to make the playoffs. Didn't win that game, unfortunately, and I think Montreal kind of took them over in the final series of the season. So just a really tough start to Steve's career here, but like we said, shit changes fast around here, and he's been competitive, so you never know what's going to happen.
It's true.
I mean, look at his position rankings. He's got like quality guys up and down his lineup. He has one of the more like complete lineups in terms of just like top to bottom. In terms of
I was just about to say, that lineup looks really, really good, and the back end of the bullpen too doesn't. He's got a lot of really
we're
above
looking at.
average guys.
We better stop what we're saying. We got a lot of injured players.
Oh,
Troy Oliver is out 4 to 5 weeks. He's
that's obviously been his issue. So he has a bunch of fucking fragile players. Chris Hanna, number 1. Like it was his first overall pick in the inaugural draft. He's just been really bad. Not really bad, really good when he's healthy. Excuse me, but it's been really bad because he's missed a lot of time.
Sucks seeing a lot of injuries on that report right there.
Look at his pieces, though. He does have a great staff. Great bullpen. And he's got a few starting pitchers, like enough just to kind of be, I'd say, a medium, kind of like an average staff. But I think his bullpen's really strong. I think his lineup's really a lot of great pieces there.
Yeah, that's a pretty good mix. I mean, with starting pitchers, I think they're probably the most volatile position of any of them when you're looking for consistency. So if you can have a good lineup and get ahead and then turn it over to that really good bullpen, that's a good recipe, I think.
I agree. Yeah. I mean, I sometimes find it hard to build a good bullpen, but if you can get those pieces in place, like that gives you such a great chance to win if you can hold late inning lead.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, for sure.
Nothing's
Jason Kohler is kind of the stud here. Was a rookie last year. Did he win rookie? He did. Name? Jason Kohler, the second baseman. Rookie of the year last year, best eye in the league. He walked 9 times. 7.4 WAR. So I mean, he's going to be able to build around this guy's minimum contract for the next few seasons.
Over 400 on base percentage. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
You know you have a stud when that happens.
Yeah.
Wow, that's crazy. 40%.
What's Jason's injury history? Just to be curious.
I looked. It was clear.
Clear. There you go. So not even a minor league injury.
It was clear.
God forbid this guy gets hurt. I pray for Steve, his lineup to stay healthy. Anybody else on this team that really stands out to you guys? I mean, these guys are all like again, like I want to say like above average. Like maybe a weaker outfield than like what we've seen in Montreal, but his infield's great.
Yeah. Trying to take a look. That's tough. So many players.
I think it's going to be a big test to see if he can kind of weather his early and stay healthy.
I've noticed a lot of high leadership on his team. What's his chemistry look like?
Good question. Oh yeah, looks really good.
Oh yeah.
This man only takes leaders on this team.
Me and him are of the same mind. Yeah,
That is amazing.
I think that's an X factor right there. I like that.
You don't think there's such thing in this game as too many cooks in the kitchen?
Oh no, line them up.
Mm.
Line them
They
up
just
for
cancel
sure.
each other out, like I said.
Oh yeah, or that.
Well, see, Steve's not happy with his team right now, and they're happy. So, I can see why he's pissed.
So they're not happy.
Yeah, man, that's fascinating. I'm glad we looked at that. That's really cool.
Yeah. If he gets on a run early and that kind of steamrolls and snowballs and they start getting into ecstatic, he could go on a big run
Yeah.
throughout the season.
Yeah, I don't think you can count his team out. Like if he can have a little better luck, he said he's been the worst luck team in the league, and he's right. He's been really close to the playoffs. He could make it competitive, and this division definitely is still a meat grinders.
The big league's a tough league. It doesn't care.
New York's
care about your personality.
New York's nasty though. Lehigh's nasty. Like Somerville's nasty. Baltimore. None of these teams look like chumps.
No, they're not chumps. So
Baltimore's got the number 22 system in the league, so nothing special, I don't think, in Baltimore in terms of the future. So definitely want to win now and maybe draft
Cox, number 24.
Yeah, he does have a pretty nice top prospect there.
He's somewhat developed, but
wow, really great bars on Fred Cox. Damn, dude.
Not a home run hitter, but looks like he could.
So he's got that 65 range, but that 35 outfield there, that's kind of a flag, don't you think?
Yeah, well, he's probably not a. Yeah,
might be a infielder. Maybe not. I don't know.
Ground ball spraying fast. He's getting on base.
Switch hitter.
Oh, I didn't even notice that.
Yeah.
I like that guy. Yeah.
Yeah, I like him a lot. Not a leader. I don't think Baltimore's gonna bring him up. Might get traded.
He's too green.
he's too green.
Trade him to me.
Yep. I'll take him.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. All right. Let's move on to the next one, huh? Unless anybody's any last thoughts, or we're good. All right. Next team was sixth place was Philly. What a disappointment, Dan. Yeah. Falling from the purchase of championship, his championship in 2001 inaugural season, and now his lineup it's got some holes.
He's still got.
I'm just gonna check on my file real quick and pull his sims. He said he might have signed some people. I don't remember. But yeah, he's got some really some of the best people. Right, he's got his closer has won reliever of the year a couple times, I think, or at least been one of the top candidates for it.
Yeah, he's won it twice, 2022 or 2002 and 2003.
George Reed, I think, was pitcher of the year last year, so he had pitcher of the year last year, closer of the year last year.
Reliever of the year and pitcher of the year, so he had a killer pitching staff.
Yeah, and then he had the MVP in last year as well. So he had the MVP, the pitcher of the year, the closer of the year, and finished sixth place in this division, basically.
Wow, that's rough.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
Yeah.
What do you got to
Just goes
do?
to
I mean,
show
he had
how
no
hard it
depth,
is.
I guess, right?
I think it did injury. I think maybe injury took a part as well.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm not sure if anybody was injured. Marcelo Bland, like, still one of the better catchers in the league, I think.
Yeah.
He lost Omar Gonzalez, who was the Cy Young winner, excuse me, the MVP in 2001. And I think he's still unsigned, right? Like, signed him yet? I don't think so.
No. Yep. No, I don't
No.
think nobody signed him yet.
Yeah, somebody's got to put him on a team for sake. Yeah, and Nick Hayden, another good reliever. He's got some, but he's got zero depth. He needs to sign some pieces kind of just to fill out his team right now. So I think he's going to be really bad this year. That's my prediction. Any thoughts? Anybody have any thoughts on Philly here?
I read somewhere I'm not supposed to like Philly, so
Yeah, it's true. It's true. Montreal and Philly are not.
They're mortal enemies.
There's a real rivalry there. So feel free to DM Dan and just let him know that his team is not looking good.
last place, sucker.
He's in trouble, right? He's got some big contracts, I think. Jim Green. I mean, Jim Green is a stud, but now his team's terrible. Not terrible. His team's not great. Like if you have pitcher of the year and you have rookie of the year and you have closer of the year, there's always hope for you if you find some pieces. But Jim Green is getting paid $41 million a year, and that makes him a lot harder to trade, especially since he can only retain up to 50% in our league. Marcelo Bland is on $32 million, so it's just kind of some tough things. There's at least some player options there, but I mean, pretty sure Marcelo Bland's going to walk with $32 million, or take $32 million, excuse me. So
Yeah, I was just looking at that. That's a super top heavy too. Yeah, Green. I don't know how you trade him with all the contenders saying they don't have any money, and then Bland. You better hope he opts out because his personality. He's a total jerk with low leadership and low work ethic, and he might crumble if he doesn't opt out. He might fall apart, and then you're just on the hook for that 30 mil for nothing next year.
he was the reason for the original Montreal and Philly rivalry, because there was a Marcelo Bland trade that Philly thought was an overpay and let Dan know about it. Dan didn't take kindly. So he's the linchpin, and that's why his nickname is Machine.
I was just gonna say he's the guy someone told me to look at earlier.
Yeah.
Okay,
It's a pretty funny story. It makes me laugh pretty hard when he. So every year you can request, if you get like 80% plus export, you can request a nickname. So that was the request that year for Dan, and that fucking made me laugh pretty hard.
Yeah.
I like it. I like it even more now, but I don't like Philly. So there.
So I'm glad you're keeping the rivalry alive. So great. Yeah. So Dan, hopefully he fills out his team. Maybe he'll be a little competitive there. I think he's in some trouble though. He's got the 25th ranked system. The bottom 4 systems are all from the Sapphire division. So yeah, tough luck there.
Yeah, I think last thing on Dan here, I think he does have, more of a stars and scrubs setup, but I don't know that he can really be that disappointed with it because I think coming into the league, he saw an opportunity to win it all and pushed his chips in and decided to push his team over the top to get that first ring, and winning it all is above all. So I think he got that, and now is just trying to hang on with some of these top pieces, but it'll be interesting to see if he does try to move on from them or see how he can kind of fill out the team around them and try to make another push.
That's a really good point, Jason. Like, when you got to go for it, you got to go for it. That is the whole point. And sometimes it don't work, but you can't kick yourself for trying.
Well, yeah, and I'm roasting Dan, but at the end of the day, look at that team history. 104, 105 the next season, and I mean, I think Jason got a little lucky to not have to face Dan in the playoffs that year, and Dan had some injuries down the stretch because he had a monster regular season. And then 80 and 82 last year isn't a slouch season. You know, that's like one of the tougher divisions, and he was like a 500 team. So, yeah, I mean, he's done a great job. He has a ring. Jason has 2 rings. Everybody else can shut the fuck up.
Yeah, I mean that's the best way to do it too. When you start a brand new league and we're all drafting one player per round, the only way to really get a leg up on the competition is to make a big trade, trading some of your future assets to try to get another star player with Bland, which is what he did. And regardless of if it was too much or not, it worked out.
It
He won
worked,
all.
yeah.
And
Yeah.
then year 2, 105 wins again. So
Just made the
you had another
rivalry
shot
bigger.
in it. Yeah, so it may be setting him back, but you can't really blame him for what he did. I think he had to do it, and it worked out, and the rest is history.
Hell yeah. So
Yeah, if you got the ring, that's the whole point. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what you play the game for. This
he's got one top 500 prospect. He's super far away though, so let's kind of move on to the next team. Actually, there's one guy, Dave Rodriguez, who's kind of close. Out of the top 500, but he looks like might be a decent hitter, first baseman. But outside of that, yeah, let's just move on because we got one more team here in the Sapphire, and then we'll rank them. The Boston Boom. In Boston, Boston's quietly suffered as, I think, one of the tough luck teams here too, and that's just because of the division they're in. If you look, Boston's been a sub 500 team, but not like a terrible team like 78 and 84. You get a couple games to go the other way, and you're a 500 team. So yeah, Jack has finally, I think, kind of turned in the other direction, because if you look at his team right now, I don't think it looks very competitive. But he's gonna have to, focus on starting a rebuild here. I think that's kind of the direction for Boston.
Yeah, I think we determined that last year. Like, he was in that he focused heavy on hitting, I believe, because he had Ricardo Box, who's just a animal.
And go ahead, Dean.
No,
I'm sorry.
I'm good. I'm good. Yeah.
Everybody should probably take note of this, right, Jason? If we look at Plinio Learfield, a little history here. He was a free agent that came over and just kind of appeared on the market. 70 over 70, looked like a freaking stud, but hadn't pitched a game in the TBL. And he's a 55-55 right now, and he hasn't been terrible. He's been like a serviceable pitcher, but if you look at his $40 million contract, all of a sudden he's not exactly worth that, right? So if you look at Learfield, and then if the rumors are true, the rumors coming out of your own mouth that Duck Breast is taking a dev hit too, then we're talking about just a tale of caution for any future GMs looking at these big prospects. We'll see how it works for Louisville this year with big signing of an offensive player.
Korean Kong. Yeah.
Korean Kong, yeah.
I wonder if, like, because when these guys just kind of magically show up, you don't really have a lot of time to scout them before you have to make aggressive offers to them. I don't know if that's a factor in that, like, and especially if they haven't even played. Like, is that an international scouting ability from your scout to try to predict that? I don't know. Just thinking out loud with these kind of guys, because I have noticed that IFA guys just kind of, they can be really great or they just fall apart, but you don't really know, and you're caught in that race trying to sign them before other teams. Before you know, you're like behind the 8 ball.
Yeah, I don't know. How are those guys different too? Are they coming over from Pro League? Is that like the idea that they transfer over and they're already professionals? And
yeah, right. Is it a major league? Is it an international? Like,
yeah, because it's not IAFA, right? It's just like IFA.
I think those ones are from professional other leagues, free agents from other leagues, like Japanese league, or I believe that's how it works.
Huh. I also wonder if it's just like. Oh, go ahead, Jason.
I was going to say, you're right, though, Dean. It's tough because if you want to be competitive and sign those players, you don't really have time to get your scout to go through a full scouting cycle on them before you offer them a large money multi-year deal. So you kind of you have to go off the OSA ratings and
Yeah.
take a chance if you want to be aggressive with those players. And, even though they're coming from some other type of league, the game itself doesn't seem to show any of their stats or history from that league. So while we've got the ratings, we certainly have no idea what they've done, if they were any good before, to help us understand what they could be. So it's a big risk, but you see those
Yeah.
shiny ratings, and it's hard to look away from the light.
And
Yeah.
both Lurfield and Duck Breast signed like first sim. I want to say like, so you definitely had no chance. I think you guys just made big first bids. Whereas this guy Korean Kong this year, at least we had a few sims where people could kind of go back and forth.
That's true. Yeah, that is true because
Exactly.
Duck Breast did go. I remember I was like, I'm gonna make an offer at Duck Breast, and I was like, but I'm gonna wait a sim to see where he's at, and I was like, I didn't even get a chance.
I thought you had him for a steal though, still that 31.5 million a year, but not if you
That was
degressed, I
kind of
guess.
my strategy on it, is to throw my best offer out the first sim, because I was like, I know this guy's going to go for a lot of money. I don't want to get into a bidding war, so I'm going to throw my best offer out there first sim and see what happens. And
Yep.
might have been a great deal, but now that he's hurt and 35 stamina, we'll see what happens.
Yeah. So let's talk about Boston here a little bit. Just give credit to his 2 stars. I think Marcos Cepeda, the catcher, is pretty nice, right? Yeah, he's got good ability and arm, but he also can hit. Like, I mean, it's quality guy. He's 24 years old. The Goblin, great nickname. Again, that's very important to have a great nickname. So,
Agreed.
and then we also have Ricardo Box, who honestly, easily my top 3 favorite guys in the league.
Oh my god, yeah.
I would love to have this fucking guy on my team. So Boston, if this guy's on the market, call me.
Yeah, look at that guy. Leader, work ethic,
Frank,
intelligent,
he is a freak.
contact,
Speed, stealing, base running.
defense, and good enough and right with that. Wow.
Like I feel like he doesn't have the sliders turned up, because that guy stealing 42 bases is a crime. If he was on my team, that guy would have 150 stolen bases.
Yeah, lead him off and let him run. Damn. Wow.
But he's led the league in hits 2 straight years. This guy can't win an MVP. I swear to God, you war motherfuckers who just vote by war. Vote Ricardo Box MVP.
He's got like 10 WAR too. Like,
Yeah,
wow.
and he hasn't led the league in either of those 2 years.
Oh
That's
my
the crazy
God.
shit.
You know what it is?
Wow.
It's the home run department he lacks.
Yeah, I guess. But triples.
Yeah.
Triples. He led the league in doubles and
Yeah.
triples and hits and steals and average, and couldn't get MVP.
That's
Ricardo-
Chicks dig the long ball, man.
I guess so. I think that was the Steve Miller 66 home campaign. I think Miller took, or was it the Jim Green? I think Jim Green. No, Jim Green was last year. So I think Steve Miller won in 2002.
Yeah, with the 66 homers. Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. Chicks do dig the long ball apparently. So yeah, that's those are the guys I really like Austin. So if they're for sale, I might be looking, and if you're a competitor, you should be too, I think. But hopefully Boston's trying to turn that page and rebuild, because the rest of his team looks like garbage.
Wow. Wow. Way to be nice, Paul.
Oh, you went there.
Well, I mean, we've looked at some really.
Guys,
Yeah, hey, he might discharge me a little more. It's okay. We've looked at some really tough teams though, so I don't think you can reasonably think you're a competitor if you're looking at your team right now.
Yeah. Yeah.
If you look at his second baseman, I know that's Chris's favorite guy in the league,
Yeah. How do you pronounce that name?
despite pronunciation. So, yeah, OOIO.
I mean, I might trade for him.
He just goes by Ant. So, any last thoughts on Boston?
I think, I think they should go in sell mode. But you do you.
All right, well let's rank them.
I went first last time. I'm out.
You'll mix it up, Jason. Why don't you give us your rankings for the Sapphire?
Yeah, this is it's a tough one. Can you go back over to the standings for me so I can see the teams?
Yeah.
Absolutely. Sorry, my bad.
Thank you. So this one I don't feel confident about in at all, but I think I'm gonna go with the Somerville money line to take this division. And then I'm gonna go New York Griffins second. Scrapples are gonna be third, which is tough because I really like the Montreal Machine too, but I'm gonna have them fourth. And then this is tough. I guess I gotta go Eagles fifth just because of that top end talent, but I don't feel super confident about it. And then Steve will love hearing this. He'll go sixth, which is not last, so you have that on your side. And then Boston seventh.
All right. Chris, why don't you go second on this one?
Oh. I'm gonna go with New York in first. Somerville second, Lehigh third. I said Lehigh or no? New York, Somerville, Lehigh, Montreal, Baltimore, Philly, Boston.
All right. I'll go third, and then I'll let Dean clean up for us. I think I'm going to pick New York number one as well. They're just really good, and
I think he was being
I'm
sneaky.
starting out. Number two, I'm going to go with Lehigh because I'm afraid to doubt them again. I'm going to go 3 with Montreal. I'm going to go 4 with Baltimore. And I'm going to go 5 with Somerville. And then 6 with Philly and 7 with Boston.
Is it fair to say you love Scrapple then?
I'm ready to give Scrabble a try. That's where I'm at with.
Right.
Kyle.
That's step one.
Yep.
Never had it, so can't tell you.
All right, what do you think, Dean?
You're missing out.
Yeah, I'm trying to look over. I actually tried to do some notes this time. I'm still getting used to this league, but yeah, I'm on board with New York in first, even though they're sneaky bastards. Top 3 rotation, really good offense, defense. Yeah, I'm 100% with that. I'm gonna go with Baltimore at 2.
There you go.
Just because of their great bats, their rotation is kind of mediocre, but they got the bats to get ahead early. They got the bullpen to close it out, and their team chemistry is the big X factor, and it looks amazing. So I think they could really surprise and go on a run. I like Baltimore. I'm gonna put Montreal me at 3. Just because I do like this team. I think the strategy could work out. It's so hard in this division, like you guys said. This is we're all guessing at this point, so I don't know. Put me at 3. Scrapples, at 4th. In 5th, we'll go with Lehigh. 6th, Boston, and then 7th, Philly, because I'm supposed to not like them, so that makes sense.
I like it.
I like that too. That was a lot
Makes
better
sense.
than mine. I was just like, what team didn't I name off first?
Yeah.
I will say, we all got New York 1 or 2, and we all got New York 3 or 4. But outside of that, we're all over the board for that division, so that's kind of fun in terms of predictions. Oh, that's not true. We all have Boston and Philly like 6, 7, 5, 6, 7. So, all right, cool. So that's the end of the Ice Conference. We usually kind of just do a quick playoff prediction. So, who do you have coming out? We won't do the whole playoffs, but who do you have coming out of the Ice Conference and being our championship contender? Jason, are you going to take yourself? Are you going to win the Ice Conference this year?
Since my owner's listening, yes, I will.
All right, great answer. So Jason is picking Atlanta. What about you, Dean? Who do you think's going to come out of the ice?
Yeah, you got to go with Atlanta. Why not?
All right.
You got
Yeah.
it. You got it.
Chris,
I
what are you thinking, man?
I don't want to say it, but I gotta. Why not? Atlanta.
You're going to Atlanta? Well, I'm definitely not because he beat me in the championship 2 years ago, and I just can't do that to myself.
Sour.
Still
got the
just a little. I mean, just a little sour. Don't worry about it.
and he's
Paul,
still.
maybe you do want to go to Atlanta, though. Maybe you do want to put all the pressure on.
Oh, the pressure on,
Maybe
yeah.
you fail miserably.
No, I'm gonna give New York their shot. I think New York has it this year, and then hopefully, because I branched out and made that guess, I can brag next year on the podcast. All right, cool. That's our prediction for the ice conference. I think we'll take a break and see if we're going to continue on tonight with the fire conference or pick it up tomorrow night. But either way, we'll either be wrapping it up here or back in 2 to 3 minutes.